What's up, everybody? Rene Rodriguez with the Long Story Longer podcast. And this episode that I just recorded with Charlie Garcia, also known as Charlie Beck, was a great episode. Charlie came highly recommended by my friend Mario Ochoa. Mario used to work with myself and my brother Ruben when I used to work in the oil field. Um, Mario had reached out to me saying that sent me some videos too of Charlie's bass playing. He plays bass guitar and some videos of an interview in Argentina. So Charlie had just done a tour of his music in Argentina as a solo bass guitarist. So Charlie's a solo bass guitarist. He's a studio bassist. He's a sound engineer. He's also written a guitar book with scales and guitar modes. Um, this dude has seen a lot of stuff. Has done a lot of stuff as far as music goes, and to me, being that he's from El Paso, I'd never heard of him up to this point. But this dude is for sure a hidden gem in El Paso. The stuff that he knows, the stuff that he's been through, the stuff that he's lived. Great, great dude, man. And Charlie even mentioned he don't even drink anymore. So some of you guys that might know him saw him drinking beer. Uh, he got comfortable, so he drank a little bit, but he didn't finish his beer, so he was okay. He didn't finish any of his beers. Just tasted them here and there. So Charlie was good to go once we were all said and done. Also, my son just turned 11 years old. Ryan just hit 11 years old a couple weeks ago, and used to be he loved his long hair, and he decided to cut it. Used to be that I'd tell him, "Hey, man, as far as his report cards and his grades go, his progress reports, hey, man, I want nothing but 90s, bro." I would tell him. The second you get something less than a 90, I'm going to cut your hair. Um, just to motivate him to get higher grades, right? And he didn't want that. No, daddy, no, no, no. I'm going to get better grades. He would here and there. But yeah, eventually, for his birthday, or right before his birthday, he tells me, hey, dad, I think I'm ready to cut my hair. And I want to do it on my birthday. So, yeah, sure enough, he went and got a haircut on his birthday. He looks great. Do I miss the long hair? Yes and no. I love the way he looked with his long hair. But it got to the point where I'd be walking around the house and barefoot, right? And in the carpet, there's always long strands of hair getting stuck between my toes. It actually killed my vacuum cleaner. So, am I happy about him getting a haircut? Yes, I am. He looks great. He's a handsome boy. Um, so I do think he looks great. I do miss long hair as well, but it's taking some getting used to. But I'm happy for him. He cut his hair. He's got a new level of confidence too, for sure. He even tells me this one day after school, "Hey, Daddy, guess what?" And before he could even say what was going on, he asked me to guess what. I guessed correctly the first time. I was like, "What? You got a girlfriend?" But I was just joking. Yeah, Daddy, I got a girlfriend now. Like, all right, man, cool. Just be cool, man. Whatever. But yeah, he's got a new level of confidence with his haircut. He's loving his short hair. He's taking a lot of pride in combing it every morning compared to his long hair. And he's taken a lot of attention towards his fashion now to the point where even yesterday we'd gone to go see the Thunderbolts finally in theaters. And as we're walking out, one of the kids that works there at Tinseltown tells Ryan, "Hey, man, I wrote it down because I'm not cool enough to remember this stuff. I like your fit, bro." Ryan was ecstatic. Ryan was happy with that comment, and I just started laughing. He's like, "What?" I'm like, "No, man, I'm not. I'm not laughing because I'm making fun. I'm just laughing because that was pretty cool. That was pretty neat." Um, as far as fashion goes with Ryan, though, he even started wearing glasses. I told him he'd go blind because he was wearing prescription glasses that one of his friends wasn't using anymore, and some that my dad had around the house. And I told him, I'm like, "Dude, you're gonna go blind." So he took off the lenses and he was wearing glasses without the lenses. Does he look cool? Yes, looks cool, whatever. But I ended up buying him some non-prescription style or fashion glasses on Amazon, and he was pretty happy with that. So yeah, man, my boy's growing up. My boy just turned 11. Um, and it's hard to see him grow up so quick, and of course you're proud of the kid. He's your kid and everything. You're proud of him. Seeing him shape up into the man that he's becoming, that's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. But it's heartbreaking, right? Because he's already gone from, I think I mentioned it before, from calling me daddy for the longest time with a sweet little voice to now calling me dad. But yeah, man, I'm proud of my son. I love that kid, and yeah, stuff that we all got to go through, right? For sure. But anyway, got to keep it short. This is a long episode. I hope you guys enjoy this show. Uh, Charlie is a hell of a great bass guitarist, and I posted some of the videos on my social media. He's great, man. Enjoy the show. I know I enjoyed it. Love y'all. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. What's up, everybody? This is Rene Rodriguez with a Long Story Longer podcast, and today's guest is Charlie Garcia.
Hey, brother. How you doing?
Pretty good yourself, brother?
Nice to meet you.
Likewise, brother. Likewise. So you came highly recommended by my buddy Mario Ochoa.
Yeah.
He sent me some of your videos, and you got interviewed in Argentina recently, right?
Yeah, I was touring down there, and I did a podcast, as a matter of fact.
And then Charlie happens to be a luthier, a bass guitarist, a studio bassist, and
Engineer
as
producer,
well, amongst other things.
bodyguard, whatever. Yeah.
Nice, bro.
Bike mechanic.
So let me start off the interview by asking you about Argentina, bro, because that was your most recent touring trip.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about?
I had a motorcycle accident, and part of my therapy was to, instead of going through the normal therapy sessions, I started doing daily uploads of me playing. And it went from like day one was like really rough, me barely being able to play. But by day 200, I started getting all these invitations like, would you do a solo set? Would you do this? Would you play in Mexico? And all of a sudden, I had a tour. So that's where that came from, just on YouTube.
And that was the first tour you've ever done, then?
No.
Or...
As a solo,
okay.
Because I'm doing like a solo bass and vocals thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's the first time I do a big tour like that. I've done a few dates before, but nothing big like the Argentinian tour yet.
And you did how many shows in Argentina, bro?
I think I did 12 or 13, something like that.
Nice.
Which is a lot. I didn't realize how hard it is to book shows down there, especially in Buenos Aires. It's nearly impossible. Everything's booked solid 6-7 months in advance. So I did a few shows in Buenos Aires, which was really cool. Really blessed.
And how receptive was the crowd out there?
Incredible. It was incredible. I could not believe it. Because here's a guy playing covers like Misfits songs on bass, making him sound like a music box, right?
Right.
And they were like super receptive. I mean, it was great. I mean, Argentina is known for some of the best crowds in the world.
For sure.
So yeah, it was great. I have another tour coming up. Actually, it's already booked. So the end of September, I'll be back in Argentina.
Nice. So they obviously liked you, bro.
I guess, or I'm cheap enough.
You did something right, bro.
Or I'm cheap enough.
Hey, man, whatever pays the bills, right?
That's what I say.
Hell yeah, man. That's cool, man. Because to me, and I think I may have told you this when we first started talking on Instagram, was that when Mario sent me your profile and stuff, I guess we got mutual people that we know that follow you.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, and it's all partly due to my career, where I was home only on weekends for the longest time. Before that, I think I was pretty well informed as far as the local music scene. But to me, like I don't know, you were something new that someone I had never heard of, bro. And to me, it was like a breath of fresh air, honestly. And to see you doing the touring and your videos on Instagram and YouTube, I was like, wow, this guy's amazing, bro.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I've been part of the local scene, but I'm always behind the scenes or
Mm-hmm.
behind the board or whatever. So I started playing in the 90s, going across the border because, I was 14, 15, and I was able to play in bars down there. So I was really involved in the scene across the border.
Right.
And then when I turned 18, I started playing more in the local scene here in town. But I was probably unfortunate that I got a chance to leave and tour and record outside of our beautiful West Texas town. So I started becoming disconnected. I still, when I can, I go to local shows and I see friends, but I had my own path. The Mars Volta is a good example. Early or at the drive-in, right?
Right.
Early on, they left, and then we never saw them again.
Mm-hmm.
I think they played here once or twice. In 25 years.
Yeah. I mean, I love their first album.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's an album that I used to remix when I worked at Rosewood Studio. They had the master tapes there,
Right.
and I would on weekends I would remix that album to kind of train myself how to mix on a big board.
Oh shit.
So yeah, I would always tinker with those master tapes.
So were you pretty familiar with those guys then on a personal level, or
No, 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 no.
just the studio?
No, the thing is that I started working at Rosewood in 2005. So at the drive-in was like already,
Long gone.
yeah, long gone. But I had the master tapes there,
Mm-hmm.
and I would just go back and remix and like tinker with it and do my own mixes. I don't know what happened to those mixes. They're probably back in the studio, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, bro.
Yeah.
And you were saying earlier before we started recording, you worked in a bunch of studios.
Yeah, yeah. You get hired to go. I've had my own studio, but I enjoy going to other places.
Mm-hmm.
Being hired either as an engineer or producer or bass player or arranger or whatever, or bodyguard. Yeah. I know you're smiling.
No.
I'm not a bodyguard, but I could be.
No, but I was wondering. I was like, as far as all that studio experience, who have you run into, or what kind of fun stories do you have going
Oh
on?
man, fun stories. I'll tell you. I'll tell you a good one. So I get a call to go fix an SSL board in California, and this is a very famous studio in LA, and it's where the Black Album was recorded.
Metallica.
The Metallica Black Album, right? And Kiss recorded there, and a bunch of albums were recorded there. So the room is very magical when you walk. In fact, they rented like once a month to do a yoga class with a Hindu guy, whatever. So it's a very spiritual place. Anyway,
Right.
I get a call to fix the console, the mixing board. And I'm thinking, why would they call me, fly me into town when there's a million guys that could do it locally? Anyway, I get there with my toolbox, and it's a hip hop session, and it's just bananas, man. It's completely everybody's out of line. Nobody's getting anything done. Long story short, I end up producing and recording, and they fire all the engineers and the producers, and the owner of the session or the main client, he hires me. So nobody knows who I am. I've always been in the background, not a big social media guy, no impact on social media or anything like that. So I'm just a dude sitting at a board, and here comes the guy from Orgy, which I don't even know his name, but he was really tall.
Mm-hmm.
Or to me, I'm 5'8". He looked like super tall, right? And I usually have somebody running Pro Tools.
Right.
I'm not the fastest guy on Pro Tools. I mean, I've been using it for a quarter of a century, but I'm not, there's guys that are better at it.
Right.
So I'm running the board, he's running Pro Tools, and I'm directing what to use on the vocal return, whatever. So here comes this dude, and he starts barking orders at the assistant engineer, thinking I'm either, I don't know, like an assistant or something. And I just look at him and I'm like, who the F are you, bro? And he's like, whoa, whoa, calm down. I'm like, no, you calm down and get the F out of my room. And then the client's like, bro, Charlie, calm down, dude. He's my buddy. He's the guy from Orgy. I'm like, who's Orgy?
One hit wonders.
Who's Orgy, bro? And it gets really bad. And then I turn farther that way, and there's a little, like a 4-year-old girl there with him. And that's when I calm down. I'm like, bro, de escalate this, right? So the guy leaves, but now I'm really upset because it's been like terrible this whole week, right?
Right.
Since I got there. So then somebody knocks on the door and opens the door. They do knock. And I'm like, get the fuck out of my room. And it's the guy from the weekend, which I didn't know who he was.
Right.
But they're like, dude, do you realize what you've done? I'm like, yeah, I can't have anybody here, dude. I'm trying to get this done. He's like, that's a guy from the weekend. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Who's the weekend, man? So, things like that happen all the time that got really not violent, but could escalate to violence. There's plenty of those.
Well, you got to get the job done, bro.
Especially when you're a nobody and they're paying you a lot of money and they're expecting you to get it done by a certain day. So, anyway, yeah, everybody apologized, including the guy from the weekend. They came back later. They didn't apologize to me. They apologized to the customer, and then he tipped us, gave us a fat tip, and it was good.
Well, to be fair, as far as the guy from Orgy, I mean, I wouldn't know who he is if we ran into him. And again, to be fair, they're a one-hit wonder that got famous playing somebody else's song, Blue Monday.
Is that who they are? I mean,
Yeah, I think so. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that's them.
that's cool. But if it would have been Jimi Hendrix walking,
Oh, hell yeah.
I would have probably told him the same thing.
Oh, no,
Jimmy,
not me.
get the hell out of my room, buddy. At the end of the day, it's your responsibility, and if it comes out sounding like crap, it's gonna reflect on you.
But also, you're expendable, especially
Yeah.
like you called yourself a no name in that studio at that
Right.
point in time.
Absolutely.
You're expendable, and if you don't do the job right, you
You don't
out
come
the,
back.
out the door.
Yeah, which is what happened to the previous guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time,
Mm-hmm.
and I demanded a lot of money, and they paid it up. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so.
It worked out.
And then there was another session that was more fun. I did a session in San Francisco, and it was really cool because I used to run a studio back in like the early 2000s called the Fun House, and it was a bunch of local kids, and it was a recording studio, but it was also a venue, and I would record the bands live, and it was really cool, like 15, 16-year-old kids. By that time, I was already married. I was 23, 24 years old. I was the old guy, right? So anyway, I end up in this session in California, and all these assistants that were going to recording school, they were local guys that grew up going to the fun house. So when we're in the studio, it's like 6 of them, and I knew all of them from when they were little teenagers, and it was super cool because it was like we spoke the same language, we ate the same things, and I spent like, I don't know, like a week and a half hanging out with those kids. That was really cool because a lot of times you go to studios and it's not very friendly,
Yeah, I imagine.
especially with the British guys. They're not mean, but they're very cold, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't joke around like we do. And these sessions were a lot of fun. But there's plenty of stories, some good, some bad.
And then as far as you getting that fortunate to land those gigs, like you talked about the one with going over to go fix the unit, but besides that, like all these other studios, how'd you get your foot in the door? Or how did that come about?
It's been a process. I mean, I started recording in the 90s. I went to recording school and then just worked my way through, recording sessions. For me, the advantage was that I could play. Early on, I was good enough to be a recording, a session guy. But people didn't know that I was tinkering with recording already, or that I had gone to recording school. They just knew me as a bass player. And then anytime I had a chance, I'd tell the engineer, hey, would you let me mess with the board? And sometimes they would let me. And that's how I started getting some of these gigs. Um, but it came from playing bass, just kind of snaking your way into the business.
And so what's crazy? I mean, you talk about bass a lot, but from me having scoped out your Instagram and your old YouTube channel,
All right, right.
you can fucking play guitar too, bro. You tear that shit up.
I can fake it, and
No,
that, dude.
bro.
I'll tell you a story how that came about. Do you guys know David Garza, the great David Garza, which is probably the best musician I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, he's from Austin.
Okay.
Um, One hit wonder as a solo guy, but he's produced like Fiona Apple,
Mm-hmm.
bunch of whatever. Anyway, I'm doing a record at the ranch with a famous producer, and I'm just a bass player. And the guy that's now Luis Miguel's percussion player was playing drums there. So we're just doing, we're doing our sessions, we're whatever, and we're missing a guitar player, or the guitar player gets fired, something happens, and David Garza happened to be there that one day, and he says, if you guys need a guitar player, I'll do it, because they wanted me to play guitar, and I declined. I'm like, no, I'm not good enough. I was already scared to play bass on those sessions. Anyway, David does like the most incredible thing. From Sonic Ranch to the airport is like a 2 hour commute, right, back and forth, like an hour in and out.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah,
So he had to go pick up some dude, Glenn Phillips, from an old band called Toad the Wet
I remember
Sprocket,
them.
right? Right. So anyway, he goes to pick him up. This producer gives him a demo of the songs. By the time he gets back to Sonic Ranch, David knows all 12 songs with solos, all in his brain. And he walks in and does the full session in one day. And I was like floored. I'm like, this is the level we're talking about. And the engineer, which is a great friend of mine to this day, also local guy, they were doing a punch in, and they we were recording to tape. Pro Tools was already a thing, but we were recording to tape, and he deleted some guitar parts, and David was already gone. So now they're like, dude, if you don't do it, we're screwed.
We've got nobody.
We're And so I started replacing his parts that got deleted, and then the producer said, redo his solos, and I started replacing some of his solos and some of his rhythm tracks, and to replace him was like, wow, dude, this is like the most amazing guy I've ever heard. To this day, he's like the most Mozart or like Beethoven to me. But that gave me the confidence to start, like, I can fake this. So then I would get calls to just play no bass, just to play guitar. And when I worked with the guy that produced Phil Collins, that's all I did, guitar, rhythm guitars. They didn't even know I played bass. They called somebody else for bass. So that's, things get aligned in a certain way. It was good for me that my buddy deleted those tracks by accident. Not only did I replace the tracks, but they put me as assistant engineer because
Nice.
they fired him. So, but that was cool, whatever. Yeah, we still talk about that.
Yeah, but from what I saw in those videos, bro, it doesn't you're not faking it, man. I mean, bass does translate to guitar
Yeah,
a
well,
certain extent.
the thing, the key is if the producer says to do something, just do it,
Yeah.
and that's the key to success. I mean, I remember a guy telling me, strum it like this and do this, and I'm like, dude, that sounds like just like Heaven from The Cure, and he's like, what? And I was like, all right, whatever. So it sounded exactly like him, same chord, same strumming pattern, but that's what he wanted. So that's the key. The key in the studio is to keep your mouth shut, do what you're told,
Right.
and be cool, and don't fanboy anybody. Don't ask for a picture, which I've made that mistake before.
With
So
who?
with Al Jorgensen, yeah, the other guy doesn't like me very much. That's a lot. I don't even know we should get into that story, but there was guns involved, and somebody.
Oh
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. That was the problem. When I was young, I was violent, and I was, it's Texas. We pack guns. You know, so they claimed that I pulled a gun on him, which I didn't. I just had it on me. And same thing, I told him to get the fuck out because he was smoking, and there was a sign there. I was the studio manager at Rosewood for a brief period, and he walked in with a bottle of wine and a smoke, and I'm like, dude, you can't smoke here. And it escalated quick. He comes back an hour later with a bodyguard. And that's when it got really cute. That's when it got really like it was a Mexican standoff, man. So to this day, like I met him years later through a friend of mine, and I put out my hand, and he just looked at me and walked away. Yeah,
And
I don't blame him.
he doesn't live that far from you, huh?
I don't think he's in Texas anymore.
Oh no.
No, I think he moved out. But yeah, he would have been my neighbor.
So my story with him was I never saw him, but when I used to work at the rock quarry, I worked at the one on Paisano and Executive, which isn't there no more because they built that freeway there.
Oh, right.
But whenever I would go cover there, his wife would go order a bunch of landscaping material. And whenever I saw the last name Jurgensen, I was like, hey, by any chance, because I knew he lived in El Paso, I was like, by any chance, are you related to Homeboy? And she told me she was his wife. And honestly, and Adrian and I were talking about this the other day, like, I respect ministry, but I was never a fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my music, whatever, it is what it is. But in that moment when the wife asked me, I was like, oh, yeah, I love ministry,
Oh, right.
I was being cool, and to the point where she'd go so often and place orders for landscaping material. And eventually, so I was a floater. I wasn't always at that location. I go to the different locations. And she went back to place an order at some point, and she took a care package for me.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know what was in there, shirts or whatever, because my other coworker
took it,
bro.
Oh man, typical 915er.
Yeah, bro. But I'm sure it was T-shirts and maybe a couple CDs. Who knows, bro? But I never got it.
Maybe a gift card to Applebee's.
She was a nice lady though, for sure.
Until she wasn't. That's what I heard.
Oh.
Anyway, that's Al's problems.
That's something else.
I'll tell you one thing. He is the godfather of sampling, in my opinion, and he's not a moron. I work with him in the studio. He knows what he's doing.
I bet.
He schooled me, man. I was still young and fresh, and he schooled me, and I'm glad for it. So, yeah, I'm glad he's touring. I'm glad he's got 2 local guys playing in his band.
Mm-hmm.
Pepe and Cesar, which is, to me, that's great. I love those 2 guys, so, I wish them the best.
I think I may have seen them in Tucson a long time ago, 2008 or so. Because I remember my truck was new that I had at that time. It was a 2008. That's how I remember that concert. I think it was there in Tucson that I might have seen them. Pretty sure.
Yeah, they're cool. I mean, I dig it. I just, when you're working with people that are so intense, and then you're a little intense yourself, and you're young, and you have a gun, it gives you this false sense of bravery, I suppose, right?
Right.
But yeah, that was, those are some of the stories. There's a ton of stories, but some really strange, but all kinds of stories. That room that we were talking about, where the Black Album was
right
conceived, is incredible. They asked me to. So there was a beat, hip hop beat, and they wanted a piano part on it, and there was a piano there, like a grand piano, and apparently, I don't know, all these like records were done on it, and I remember it's on my Instagram. Sitting down on it and writing a song in literally 10 seconds. That place is so vibey that it just came out. And it's, just go watch it on my Instagram. A really cool vibe. I got paid to babysit a beautiful dog as well. I got paid $600, dude.
And this was in what city?
This is in L.A.
L.A.
So the guy's like, the customer is like, could you walk my dog, take him to the park? I'm like, bro, who do you think I am, bro? I'm like, no. He's like, I'll give you a lot of money. I'm like, I don't care about money. But I fell in love with this dog, dude, and I still took him. And when I come back, he's like, you see, you still did it. I'm like, I didn't do it for you, man. I did it for the dog, because he's like, I'll take him from you if you sell it to me. Anyway, long story short, I keep taking him for like 3 days in a row, and then I come back, and there's an envelope for me, $600.
Nice.
Yeah.
Win.
Right. Yeah. I would have spent it on the dog probably. and dog treats. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy people in the industry that do weird things. And for us normal people, we're like, this is just super bizarre, dude. Like, why are they doing this?
Because there's a new or a perceived level of power that comes
I suppose, yeah.
with being famous or
Or having a lot of money, right? Expendable money and
mm-hmm,
power.
fu money.
Yeah, plenty of it. Yeah. But yeah, that's how going back to the studio guitar thing. That's how it all started, out of correcting those guitar parts. I guess it would have been a lot easier for me because it's like, okay, I'm gonna fix something. But if they had thrown me into the bull ring like that, I think I would have flopped. And now I do a lot of guitar work.
Nice. So it kind of reminds me of so one of my music mentors is a bassist that I met in Phoenix. His name's Angel Zamorano, and he played bass for a bunch of Spanish acts. Like I think Luis Miguel was for sure one of them.
Oh, cool.
Alejandra Guzman and the American act that I remember him playing for was Natalie Cole R&B. He played for her too. But Angel was a great bassist, or is a great bassist. And the way I met him was because when I was in Phoenix, I was out there for art school, and I was living with my high school girlfriend's brother who lived in Phoenix also at the time. And he introduced me to a buddy of his that had a recording studio at home.
Oh,
But
cool.
but this dude would only record religious music.
Oh, okay.
But since I was going to art school and I knew how to use Photoshop and all that stuff, he called me over to the studio one day, asking me for a favor, like, "Hey man, can you come help me design an album cover for who was my mentor, Angel?" They did a jazz, like a jazz album, like a gospel album type deal.
Christian though, right?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, right.
just for that album because Angel plays everything.
Oh, okay.
He plays Latin jazz like crazy, all the dance stuff and everything. But this album happened to be a jazz gospel type album, and it was a quick Photoshop job. I just did like a dove and clouds and a cry. It's something simple, something cliche, I'm sure. But from having done that, the guy was gonna pay me and everything too. My mentor was, and I was like, my train of thought was, I'm not gonna charge you anything, bro. Just further down the line, if anybody asks you who designed this, send them my way and I'll charge them.
Yep.
So at the time, Homeboy offered to at least pay me with lessons, music lessons.
Oh, cool.
But I was a cocky kid, bro.
Oh, I don't need lessons from
I
you,
was
bro.
18 or 19, and it took me a long time before I took him up on his offer, bro.
Wow.
And I had a Squire Telecaster at the time, but I remember I went to his house to take my first lesson when I decided to go ahead and go do it, and he's playing bass for me, bro. Very amazing bass. Like he's doing a bunch of crazy stuff, like what you do with both. It's something different with both hands, you know. And at the time, me being 18, 19, that's the first time I'd ever seen that,
Wow.
and I was like I was amazed by it for sure, you know. Long story short, I bring that up because he picked up my guitar and he's like, I'm not really a guitarist, man, but
And he was
but
shredding.
I'll teach you what I can. He's shredding on it and he's slapping on the on the
Right.
Telecaster and everything. I'm like, damn, dude, that sounds pretty.
Wow. Yeah, some guys have it. I don't think I'm talented. What it is I practice a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like if this set that I do, that I'm doing vocals and bass,
Mm-hmm.
if I don't practice the full set, it's rough. The next show is really rough. And so I had to force myself to practice. I'm not to force myself because I enjoy doing it. But if I don't do it, the show's gonna suffer. You'll know.
So for instance, in Argentina, this tour that you recently had, um, Melancholy tour.
Yeah, the melancholy tour.
So whenever you were doing that, were you doing sound checks at the venues, or were you practicing in your room, or?
So I was practicing. I use a Kemper that I travel with all the time, and I was using headphones at the because I stayed at Airbnbs,
Mhm.
and I would practice on that, nights off. But I was kind of worried, to be honest. Like I knew Argentinian engineers are they're sought after in the Latin world, in Mexico and other in Spain. They're very popular. But I didn't think they were that good when I got there. I mean, these dudes were some of the best. I'm an engineer myself, and I'm pretty good, but these dudes knew what they were doing. I mean, Every, every single show was flawless. I'd show up, explain to them what I needed, and they're like, "Yeah, not a problem. We got it." I'm like, "Do you want a sound check?" He says, "Yeah, we can sound check if you feel more comfortable, but I got it." And I'm like, "All right, well, let me see." First half a song, and it's like, "It's there, dude. You got it. That's exactly what I need." It was that simple. And the thing
Nice.
is that people would say, especially when I travel in Mexico, they're like, "Oh, it's just bass and vocals. It's not a big deal." It actually is because between my uh, vocals and the bass guitar, I have to fill the whole spectrum. And if the sound's not right, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna work. So it's actually more difficult. It's the same thing when you do an acoustic guitar player and vocals. It's very difficult to get it to be powerful. These guys, and I made great friends actually. And then there's a dude, Sergio Papi, very famous, legendary producer, and I became friends with him. And he started hanging out with me at the shows, and not necessarily doing the sound, but overseeing the sound guys. So, if anything was somehow this dude he's like an extension of what I think.
Mm-hmm.
He's so experienced that he knows exactly what I need. Um, he would we'd get a sound check, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's good. It's really good." And then he'd come over and look at the sound guy and be like, "Let's try this," and then it'd be the most incredible sound. The thing is, you know, there's
I'm amazed they don't mean to interrupt, but I'm amazed that they don't touch the knobs and stuff.
well, yeah, because he's let everywhere we went, they knew him,
Oh, okay.
so he was
Good.
well respected.
Right
So
on.
yeah, and good friend of mine now. We became really really good buddies, and we're gonna do a lot of work. Maybe you should have him on
That'd be
one of
nice.
these days. Um, but the backstory to that is that the whole vocal thing. I'm not really a singer, as you guys can tell from my singing,
Calm down, man.
but I um, I had COVID and I lost my voice or my ability to speak for about 6 months.
Oh
Yeah, I
shoot.
couldn't, and I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. See, the funny thing is, everything comes from a tragedy. My playing came from breaking my shoulder, and my singing came from losing my voice. So I know this guy, local guy. If you go to my Instagram, I'll hit you guys up with his connect. He's one of the most amazing vocal coaches. I hit him up. He was my customer. I produced some of his work, and I said, "Dude, I can't speak." I sent him a text message, and he says, "Well, you just need to relearn how to breathe." And we sat down, and he started teaching me how to breathe properly, and then my voice started coming back. But he would do it through singing exercises, and he says, "You sound pretty good." And then I started practicing songs just so that I could speak. And before you knew it, I had 10 songs that I could sing. Barely. But you have to have the sound has to be mixed properly. If the
Mm-hmm.
bass is too high, I'm going to be off key. If it's too low, I can't hear it and I'm off key.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be dead on. And this guy, Papi, is a master of it. There's another guy that I work with down there, Seba Martucci, genius engineer. And this guy's they're like luthiers. They make synthesizers. They're engineers. They're just very. I was very very blessed. Uh, I recommend anybody that's thinking of touring South America go to Argentina, and it'll be a learning experience. You'll be glad you did it.
And your off time out there, what did you find yourself doing besides rehearsing? Like were you trying out the local foods or the local scenery or anything?
I'm
Or
I'm not much of a tourist, man.
no, you're
And
not adventurous or
no, that drove everybody crazy. Because I've been around the block a few times and I'm just tired of it. To me, every city, not every city, but a lot of cities look the same. Like San Telmo looks like New Orleans. And I'm like, I've been to New Orleans. So why do I want to be, wasting money or walking around? So I did it a little bit. But the new manager, July Banner, she's actually from the States, lives in Argentina. She's like, "Dude, you're coming with me. I'm taking you to a church," because she knows I'm into like Catholic temples.
right?
I like. I'm not religious, but I like walking in there, looking
Mm-hmm.
at the architecture. So she took me to this place in San Isidro, and waited outside. She's like, go in there and be a tourist for one day. And I was a tourist for about 4 hours, and then I had enough. But as far as the food, man, I'm an eater, as you can tell. And that was what I tried doing was I'm gonna try to look for a place that sucks, and I couldn't find one. Dude, you eat good, and especially in Buenos Aires, you eat good, man.
And I imagine it's all clean food, bro.
It was cleaner. You know, the tomatoes were more red, and they tasted more like a tomato. If you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like when you go to Whataburger and you take out the tomato and you taste it, it doesn't taste like a pickle, bro.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a fruit.
Yeah, well, down there it does taste like a fruit. It's really good. And it wasn't cheap though. It wasn't cheap. The a burger is like $14, bro. Yeah, minimum wage a day is like $12.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. The inflation is like way out of whack. Yeah, but it's a big country with a lot of resources, so somehow they're
And with you touring down there, did you have an allowance, or was it all inclusive as far as your meals and your Airbnbs, or
well, in the end, the artist pays for everything, man. That's the reality. You go play a show, 10 people walk in, that's what you make. And if you spend more than what you made, you're screwed. And that's
oh
that
shit?
that's really how it works. Luckily, it worked out for me. And then I had a little sponsorship. I wish I could talk about it because they were good to me, but I can't until we renew.
Mm-hmm.
But they make really cool green hats and really cool skating shoes. So yeah, so I'm hoping I can.
Got you.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can work something out.
Pretty sure it's a brand I love.
But yeah, very
So
very California.
yeah, sweet, bro.
Yeah, so that's how that. But if you sell tickets, man, you're gonna eat. You're gonna eat, and that's anywhere. And sometimes you just don't eat.
But I'm sure you got the exposure out there too, and that helps out a lot because you got your
A second tour, so we're doing the second leg of the tour. And what's interesting about the melancholy tour, man, and I call it the melancholy because not because I was sad, but I wanted to put myself in that state of mind where some of these cover tunes are re reinvented,
reimagined.
reimagined to be super like sad, not sad, but just with a heavy melancholy feel to them. And that's to me that's very interesting. You take like the Misfits song. I play Misfits and they sound bittersweet in a way. They don't have, and it's like Last Caress is a song that talks about murder.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sang very sweet, and I do some tapping and look. It sounds like a music box. So I'm sorry about that. Everything's toned down. I do Pixies, which is already pretty sad. I turn up the sad knob.
Where is my mind? Or
No, I do. I can't sing that, dude. I tried. I can't sing it. I do. Wave of Mutilation. Wave of Mutilation. Super slow. Because they have two versions, right?
right.
And I always like the slower one, so I slow it down and then tune it down so it's super. I guess it's emo, dude. Right? I should wear my hair like that.
And how long is your set? How many songs?
The set could be about an hour and a half, but sometimes like I opened up for a few artists down there and I did like 30 minutes,
Okay.
and I found myself playing everything faster because I didn't have anybody on stage telling me like what the time was. So I'm like playing all these songs. I looking back at the footage, I'm like, dude, that song I played like super fast. Because I only had 30 minutes. So it affected the way I performed.
So when you're doing those shows on stage, is it just you on the bass and no backing?
Nothing. I use a looper
Right.
occasionally, but I try not to. That's the point. I come well.
You want to showcase your bass.
I want to showcase what the bass is capable of doing more than what I can do, because there's a guy Michael Manring. I recommend everybody go listen to him, go follow him, hire him if you can. Um, he's the godfather of solo bass, and he can play a whole show and he doesn't even sing. So that's my school of thought. Just don't use loopers, don't use backing tracks, don't use other musicians. You and your instrument. If you can pull that off, then you're good. And I've been kind of pulling it off. That to me, that was the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life. Was solo bass.
Oh, that's reminds me of your post that you posted recently, where playing in a band is easy, but playing solo bass is a challenge or something.
Yeah, yeah. And we would joke because we said being in a band is actually hard because you have to deal with a bunch of jerks. But musically, it's too easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's it's hard to describe, but I play uh, Black Sabbath. What's this song called? War Pigs. So the groove is really funky. The drums
Mm-hmm.
are super funky. So how do I recreate that by myself? So with my index and middle fingers, I tap the snare pattern, and with my thumb, I do the bass. But then I do the chords with the other hand. So it's not a slap bass thing. It's more like a keyboard thing, more
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like a Stevie Wonder type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm singing on top. So it's super weird. A lot of it comes from Primus as well, from Les Claypool.
Yep.
But it's been really, really challenging, and just no fear, man. Like don't like just do it.
I was wearing my Cake shirt earlier, but I love Cake's version of War Pigs.
It's so that's a good point because I looked at a lot of versions, and the Cake version is what inspired me to do what I do,
Nice.
which is completely different, but it was so inspirational, man. Those dudes are Cake is a great band, so underrated.
Oh hell yeah, bro! That's one of the artists that, and I've talked about it before on the show too, where I was starstruck by him. I saw him in Albuquerque,
Hmm.
and I was in line to get the autograph, and I had to get out of the line for some stupid reason. I can't remember what the reason was, bro. And the line just got longer,
Oh, that sucks.
and I panicked, and I'm like, "Fuck! I really wanted to meet these guys."
Right.
And I just went up to the front of the line. I was like, "Hey, man, John McRae's the singer." I was like, "Hey, man, can I just shake your hand?" And he let me shake his hand. I still got the signed poster,
That's cool.
and he let me take a picture with him. But it's the dumbest picture ever because I'm closing my eyes, bro. But yeah, Cake is underrated, bro. I love Cake.
Yeah, they're a great band. The trumpet. I just recently saw a show they did. I don't know if it was Austin City Limits or whatnot, but it was amazing band. But yeah, so I try to cover all these bases from pun intended
Hmm.
from my instrument's perspective, and having a backing band is too easy. It's just too cliche, too common. However, I do have friends that I love to death, and sometimes they'll join, especially in South America, they join me to play like the last four songs, which was, I mean, it was a great honor for me. Like, there's a guy, Saul del Vivar, he's a legendary guitar player down there, um, and he agreed to play on stage with me because that guy's like so picky about music. He doesn't like anything, man.
So for him to want to jam out with you, it's a big
I,
honor.
I didn't. I thought he was joking. I'm like, does this guy really mean it? Like, or is he just doing it as a joke? But no, he's a good friend of mine, and we, after like three shows, he was a little drunk, and he spilled it out. He's like, man, you're a good front man. That I wouldn't have done it if I didn't like your music. I'm like, oh, well, thank you. I didn't want to take it anywhere else so it wouldn't get weird, but yeah, it's just doing it. I got a lot of flack when I started doing my cringy, low production daily videos, especially from the people around me. Like, oh yeah, they wouldn't even. I would get like 20 views, bro, and they wouldn't even look at it, or they wouldn't even they'd see it and not even like it, and I'm like, man, these are my buddies, bro. That sucks. And then 200 videos in, and I started getting calls. So
Persistence.
yeah, dude, what I believe in it. When I saw Michael Mandering when I was 15, 16 years old, I'm like, wow, dude, that's what I want to do. And now I'm brave enough to do it, and I don't care if nobody shows up. I don't care if I don't care if we make money, if we lose money. I don't care. Doesn't matter. I'm still gonna do it as long as I can physically. So I think that translates when I'm on stage. People that's another funny thing. Like when I play, people want to get involved, and they'll start clapping the rhythm because they know there's a psychoacoustics. There's a phenomenon called yeah, from acoustical engineering called psychoacoustics, which is the brain looks at patterns or images from the sound
Mm-hmm.
it hears, right? It automatically translates into images, but it also fills in the blanks when the sound is not there. So when I play something,
The
people start,
ambiance.
yeah, and then people start clapping the rhythm like the drums. So it's a very interactive thing. And sometimes if the crowd is not jiving, I'll be like, hey, check it out. I'm boring up here unless you guys join in. And if you play this clave, it's gonna sound really cool. And yeah, there's videos of me where I have the crowd playing the clave, and now it's all of us, not just me. So that's been really 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 cool, man.
Well, that's what's really cool whenever they do it by themselves, because they're tapping into that wave.
Exactly, and that's the point. That's all I care about because I'm in that wave already.
That's where you're doing the job right as well as a
Yeah,
performer.
as far as translating it to them, because I'm in my a lot of times some of these venues I can't see the crowd because the lights hit me right in the. I'm not used to that, man. I'm not a rock star, so the lights hitting me in the face, I'm blinded. I don't know what's happening, and sometimes I can't even hear the crowd, but I'm in it, man. And if anybody wants to tap in, they're welcome to.
And when you're in it, bro, from beginning to end, does it go by in a flash or?
It's strange. I don't think it goes in a flash. I think I do live throughout the time frame, but it goes in and out. Like I'm there, I'm not there. And sometimes I wander off so much that I make like really bad mistakes. Dude, I've screwed up like some really bad songs. I screwed up Spain by Chick Corea, which is a very technical song, in front of a killer bass player. And I totally ruined it because I wandered off. I was so into it that I became lost. And then another time, this all happened in this tour. I was playing, and you've seen my bass. It's tainted red, right?
Mm-hmm.
A green light hit it, and then it at an angle, and it all turned black. And I totally messed up a song. And I'm like, how do I recover from this? And I did, but it was the reflection. I learned something. Don't have a red fingerboard because it's not gonna work under the lights. So I'm never doing that again. And the next prototype I make is gonna be a different color, probably green or something more neutral. So yeah, the freaking red fingerboard, bro. I learned a valuable lesson. It looks cool, but it's not cool,
Yeah.
especially when a green light hits it. And that's all happening when everybody's like. So when I play, everybody's super quiet. They're listening, and when I fuck up, bro, everybody can tell, which is cool. It's part of it. I enjoy it and I live through it. But I'm like, dude, I've been practicing that song like the last 4 days, and now I fucked that up right in front of that beautiful blonde that's sitting there. Whatever. But yeah, so that's the base. Ultra.
No, te la voy a dar en el momento.
Ah,
Voy a
sí,
entrar a la
¿Y la
imagen.
no la trajiste, güey?
Oh, la base. Estoy
este,
enamorado de este vato, ¿no? Es como lo miro, güey.
sí, pues es mi carnal. Los carnales también se.
In Arkansas.
Special. Yeah, I was gonna say, especially in the South.
Well, they said brotherly love.
That's where the phrase came from, probably. Dude, should I tell this story? Dude, we were on tour with some beautiful people that I love to death, but they're a little darker, bro.
Say it, bro.
Yeah. The most beautiful people you'll ever meet, man. If you ever get to meet them, well, it's a whole family affair. But anyway, yeah, I can talk about that story. Yeah. So we were on the road. We started here in West Texas all the way to New York, right? And when I got hired to do this particular tour, and we were going to do a recording session in New York, I was, I, I said, all right, but there's a thing in the a line in the contract that says we stop in New Orleans and we do not go through Alabama, but we stop in New Orleans for 12 hours at least because I always go to the Preservation Hall to listen to jazz. So they're like, all right, cool, whatever. So we get to New Orleans. I guess they weren't jiving with it, and they're like, oh well, we can leave early. I'm like, well, I've done what I wanted to do, so sure, let's leave. So we end up leaving at midnight. I fall asleep in the little tour bus, and I wake up at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning, whatever it was, and I look at the GPS, and we're in Alabama, dude. And I said, I, because I'm next to the driver, I'm like, dude, we need to turn back. And he says, I'm not gonna waste 4 hours. I'm not gonna turn back. We're gonna drive straight. And I said, dude, it's in my contract. We do not go through Alabama. Anyway, we were right at the corner. I don't even know what highway it was, but my friends are a little tan, right? I would be considered a white guy next to them. That's how. And they're the most beautiful, amazing
Right.
group of people I've ever worked with, and the most patient. They deal with my crap. Anyway, we get to a McDonald's. We haven't eaten anything. I'm like, cool, whatever. I walk into this McDonald's, and it's the most beautiful blue eyes I've ever seen. It's like everybody in the McDonald's had blue eyes, but the ugliest people I've ever seen, bro. It was like a weird movie scene out of, like, I don't know. Anyway, I go to the counter. I get it off because I'm always in the passenger seat. So I go get my number one or whatever, and I run into the restroom. When I come out to get my number one, my buddies are not inside the restaurant. They're in the parking lot. And I'm like, what's going on, guys? I'm here, I got my bag. And they're like, dude, they won't serve me or any of us.
Out of McDonald's?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they said we have 10 minutes to get out of town. And I said, that's why I have it in my contract that we do not go. We were like 20 miles from the KKK headquarters. And I said, that's the reason we're not here, dude. That's why I don't come through here. Because we're not welcomed here, bro. And they're like, well, we were born in this country. I'm like, yeah, but not in this county. So we get out of there. We drive through probably Virginia. We go to another McDonald's, and the same thing happens. But this time I say, hey, they served me, and I'm looking at my skin color. I'm like, why would they serve me and not them? So I'm like, that's cool. I'll go get meals for you guys. And when I went to order, the guy came out and he says, dude, we know that you're going to buy for them and we don't want them here. So now you have to leave too.
Wow.
This is 2019, buddy.
No, I believe it, bro.
Yeah. Can you believe? It's like, dude, really? Why do we have to go through that kind of thing?
I can't remember what town we were driving through in work. We were mobilizing from one project in one state to another. I wish I could remember where it was, but we passed by what would have been a restaurant. We didn't stop by or anything, but I remember the name of the restaurant was something like Cal's Country Kitchen,
Oh,
but
wow.
it's all Cal with a K, country with a K,
Oh,
and kitchen,
wow.
of course, with a K.
Damn.
So it would lead one to assume the obvious, but
Right.
I don't know for a fact because we didn't stop by, but
No, but you and I know that's the KKK, buddy.
right.
So KKK, you stay away.
Oh yeah, bro, that's crazy, man.
So, a lot of things happen being on the road. I try not to travel at night. So that's a no-no for me. I don't travel at night because I've seen a lot of things happen. What else? If I'm traveling in the States, I eat at either McDonald's or Denny's because you can never get sick at McDonald's. because it's not real food, man.
Facts.
Yeah, you cannot get sick at McDonald's. And if you start eating like a I don't know like a mom and pop shop somewhere, dude, you're gonna get the runs and it's not gonna be fun. Or you could get a high fever or whatever, all kinds of crazy things. But McDonald's for sure, you're not gonna get sick. And in Argentina, it was great, man. The food was amazing everywhere we went. I mean, I purposely looked for a crappy place and I couldn't find one. It was expensive everywhere, but it was good. The the asado, which is their typical, like their barbecue, dude. They're like Texas. We're all masters, at barbecuing, right? Well, they're the same with but they cut the cow differently.
Yeah.
They slice it in different ways, so they get different cuts, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, with work, me being from Texas, of course, they just bought a smoker for the crew, and our big boss was like, "Yeah, I bought a pellet smoker for you guys.
Nice.
Who's the master barbecue guy here?" I'm like,
Texas,
fucking me,
yeah,
bro,
the Texas
right
guy,
here.
yeah.
It's me. I'll take the honor. So earlier we were talking about your bass, though. Not only do you play bass, you built your own bass and you build basses for customers.
Right.
Let's have a look at it, bro.
And
Let's
you
have
know
it.
what? Yeah, I'll get it out in a second. But I think this might be an interesting fact that I think I'm the only luthier that's touring with his own bass,
Nice.
or at least in a solo context.
And are you only playing the one that you brought with you, or are you playing several of your own basses on
So
tour?
my idea was like before when I toured with bands, I had 3, 4, 6, up to 8 basses, and I was really spoiled. Now, because we're such a small company, or as far as me as an artist, I can't afford a crew or anything like that. So it's one bass, and I thought I was gonna bring 3 or 4, and no, it's just been one bass. In fact, I haven't finished this is the prototype. I haven't finished the other ones, and it's survived. It's a very solid instrument, and it's all handmade in West Texas, and it's gone through hell and back with me. And then I ride my motorcycle, and I have this thing on me, man. So it's been through a lot. I built it about 2.5 years ago, and it's done every show. It hasn't been a lot of recordings yet, but definitely all the shows.
It's very nice to look at for sure. But when I had seen it in your videos, like I liked it, but seeing it in person is a different thing, bro. And then how you were explaining earlier before we recorded the intricacies of it, like the square neck on the back.
Right. It's completely. So maybe we should get into this. It might be interesting.
Do it, man. That's a cool lesson right there, bro.
For anybody that's interested in improving their playability. Not playing faster, but if you buy an iPhone and it costs $1,000, wouldn't you like to pay only $500 for it?
Of course.
So why would you want to suffer twice as much playing something when it could be a lot easier? The problem with a round neck, it comes from violin making. Back 300 years ago, they made the finish for the back of the neck was all natural ingredients. And sometimes, depending on the time of the year, they would they would get gunky, so you had to keep there was a lot of friction. So to reduce friction, they made it round so that your thumb would have a less contact with the neck. The problem is for a violin, it's not such a big deal, but when you have a bigger instrument, the less contact you have is the less strength you have to press down on the strings. So there's no reason to have a round neck at all. You would have, I don't know if the camera could catch this, but by virtue of it being flat, you have more surface to position your thumb. Therefore,
Lay a lot more pressure.
more, not, yeah, more pressure, but it actually takes less to play what you normally would play, right? And also, they do have to be made to fit your hand because my fingers are super short, We talked about that earlier. They actually stopped growing when I was like 14, 15. So it would be ridiculous for me to play something that you would play,
Right.
considering you have bigger hands or anybody else.
Oh, they're a little dainty, but
Yeah. No, they're normal size hands. So yeah, that's one of the things when it comes from the design perspective. I didn't I didn't invent this. This comes from the Chapman stick, and if you guys are not familiar, listen to King Crimson. Tony Levin plays the Chapman stick, and it's an instrument that's played upright, and you tap it, and the back of it is completely squared. I got one. I was a spoiled kid, and I got one for Christmas. And I remember it was 1999 when I got it, and it cost like $2,700, which was a fortune, right? And it took 6 months for them to build it, and I would call him every Friday, like, "How's my stick doing? And are you guys gonna do this and that?" And his wife one time she answered and she says, "In 40 years of the company, we've never had anybody call so many times." And I'm like, "What I'll do is I'll have Emmett Chapman call you." And I'm like, "Oh, he's never gonna call me." 2 hours later, dude, he calls me, and he starts going through like why he invented the instrument, why the back of the neck was square, and that's where it came from. I always remember his kindness and his conversation. He says, "There's no reason for things to be round or to play them like that. They need to be played upright because that's the natural position of your hands." So doing this, sometimes I'll do this, but I'm not fully upright like the Chapman stick. But it does make a difference when you. It doesn't look as cool, right? But it's a lot easier. And after all these injuries from martial arts, falling off my bike, and I'm all broken. So whatever feels more comfortable, I'll go with that. If it doesn't look as cool, then whatever. I'll just wear a cool Vans hat, right? But yeah, that's one of the principles on the instrument. I'm a little backed up. I run two companies one called Exotica Guitars, which is mainly headless 7-8 string guitars, super modern for like guys that are doing like the prog metal and that kind of stuff. And then I have another company called Bekje, this is a Bekje prototype, and those are extremely expensive. They're way out of reach for anybody, including myself. But we have sold a few, believe it or not. I mean, the prices are like whack.
And I did hear, as far as customers go, you got two stipulations as far as making the Bekje guitars.
I have to really like you, and I have to be able to measure your hand. If not, I'm not doing it. Money's not an issue.
That's what I love this, guys.
Es todo.
And I like this, my brother.
Es todo. Cheers. So the
And I'm Mario Shoa, okay?
So that's Mario.
Very nice.
And indeed, my friend Mario, brother Mario. Yeah, I have to really like the person, which
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I'm super backed up on the Exotica guitars. And if it wasn't because these dudes really have patience and care for me as a person, I'd be in court right now. Because I'm backed up 2 years, dude. Like, I owe 12 guitars. And they're in the process. But the company's gone through changes and my health and all that. No excuses. They got to get done. But the only reason is because we like each other. If not, they would have sued me already, And but they're coming.
But having said that, with your stipulations, like, how many people have you told no to so far?
Honestly, just a couple. But not I'm such a small company that's like word of mouth.
Right.
And usually it's like-minded people. But a couple of people I've been like, I'm not interested.
But I get it, because if you're going to put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, you have to like the person. And they might like your product, they might like you, but again, if you don't like them, it's...
And sometimes they think they like you, but they like the instrument.
Yeah.
more than they like you as a person, and it's a very personable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've had people cry when I
Present
presented
it.
an instrument, and to me, that's the biggest payment because making instruments is not it's not a way of life. Financially, it's not. Um, it barely pays the bills sometimes, and then when you're backed up, it really doesn't pay the bills. So you gotta leave the money. You gotta forget about that,
Mm-hmm.
and really understand that what you're doing as an artist is for another artist. It's one of those like when you paint a picture or you draw something, you're an artist, but it's not necessarily to create art. It's just art itself. This thing, as an artist, you make it to
Create.
create more art.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very interesting concept. And if there's no connection between the two artists, then it's not going to happen. And yeah, this guy's been really loyal to me, and there's a lot of things that are need to change because it's a prototype.
Yeah, you were saying it's a prototype, but you've made adjustments here and there to it.
Yeah. Like the nut is scalloped. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
It's like a crown, and then there's like a super heavy volute, way bigger than it needs to be. But I think it looks cool and it doesn't bother me.
No, it looks pretty killer, bro.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like a weapon in a way.
I was gonna say like something medieval, bro.
Yeah, it is. It is called the castle. One of these models is the castle. This was gonna be like the king base or something, but it had yeah it was it's got that medieval feel to it. Um, but yeah, it's a great bass. It sounds good. You guys can hear it on Instagram, and all those clips are from people that they filmed the show and they found me on Instagram and sent me the video. Like I never had a crew filming me, or I had a friend one time and he hasn't been able to send me the video for some reason. But other than that, it's just people in the crowd, and what you hear is what the iPhone picks up.
Nice.
But it sounds really good on record. Super easy to play. You played it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The action is super low,
Mm-hmm.
so it's really nice. My son made these knobs.
And I was telling you, as far as the knobs go, the colors, you were saying they were your son's the messed up ones, right? But to me, the colors look great on that bass and that wood.
Yeah,
It gives it
they
character.
worked out. Yeah, they're the ones that are kind of crooked when we drilled them.
Mm.
They came out crooked, and I'm like, oh, I'll take them. I mean, for free, I'll take them, right? But yeah, that's been my only bass. I played that PV before that I've done on Instagram, but this is a guy, and then I'm building another one, and there's a couple of other projects that I have with other companies that we might build. We're talking about building something together. So, not necessarily a competitor. It's a company that and I'm not gonna say their name until we have something more solid, but they're so like-minded. They're younger guys, and I went to their factory, and when they showed me what they were doing, I'm like, dude, I'm doing the same thing. And I brought my bass, and so we're talking about building a bass together for the NAM show.
Nice.
And these guys they're an Argentinian brand. I think that's a giveaway because they're pretty famous. So that's gonna be kind of cool. Instead of competing against each other, we're trying to push the envelope as far as design and playability and sound and all that. It probably cost $1 million to make, but I think it's gonna be a cool project. So yeah, there's a lot of things in the works. More tours, more music. I might do a studio album.
So again, it just you're doing all these things, all these moves, bro. It's like I said earlier, about me not being home as often as I used to be back in the day because of my career. It's like you're a dude from El Paso accomplishing all this stuff, bro. It's amazing.
Thank you. Well, it's just a matter of being not giving an F. Just do it. Get on your Harley and ride.
No excuses.
Yeah, and whatever happens, happens. It was a crazy idea when I discussed it with friends and people that work close with me. It's like, how are you gonna do this? Are you gonna have backing tracks? I'm like, no, and I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And it just started working out. Started working itself into what the set is, and now it's easier. Like I get if I hear a song, I'm like, that's a cool song, from the '80s. So I wonder if I can mess it up, and then I go home and I mess it up, and it works out. I do land under, bro. So I'm a big fan of jazz and jazz harmony. By the way, I have a book that I wrote.
I saw
It's
your video. I was
it's
gonna promote it on here too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's kind of out of print, but if anybody wants it, I can shoot them a digital copy. Anyway, it's a book on harmony, and I'm a sucker for reharmonizing things. So I do Men at Work's uh what's it called?
Down under.
Down Under. Completely whack, bro. Like the melody is like completely different, and the chords. It's a 3 chord song, but I changed the chords. They're relative to the song, but you only know it's the song when we get to the chorus. So messing it up is kind of cool, It's like I don't know. Have you guys seen I don't know if you've seen it. Devo's version of Satisfaction,
Mm-mm.
bro. What I do, I call it's like if Salvador Dali did music. Whatever his style of painting is
Right.
called.
The melting or whatever.
That's how Devo sounds, and that's the way I try to sound. It's like Alice in Wonderland. It's super like on a trip,
Psychedelic.
it's super psychedelic, but also like very sad. And I recommend you guys check out Devo's version of Satisfaction. It's crazy.
So clearly though, from the bands that you've mentioned, you've got punk rock roots
Oh, dude,
in everything that you're playing.
a million percent. My favorite band is the Misfits. Some people would say it's not punk rock. They can go fuck themselves. The Misfits are the greatest band in the world. And yeah, definitely punk. Those are my real roots. And it's interesting because a lot of people think they book me in a lot of jazz clubs down there. They're thinking I play jazz. I'm like, dude, I played 3 jazz songs out of 15 or 20. A lot of them are punk songs. And they think I'm a jazz guy because I've done jazz, but parallel to my upbringing as a punk rocker, I was listening to Dizzy Gillespie,
Hmm.
and I was seeing no difference in bands like the Misfits and Dizzy. No difference. To me, it was the same thing. So
And I might be wrong, but I used to tell my brother Ruben when I started telling him why I was into Johnny Cash. To me, Johnny Cash was punk rock before punk rock existed.
100%, buddy. That's
I don't know if that's an original thought, but that's what I felt, bro. Because when everybody else is doing the honky tonk, whatever the fuck, Johnny Cash was singing all
the hard stuff.
the harder stuff or the deeper stuff, and to me that was punk rock for his time.
Absolutely, and super melodic. Because
Hmm.
punk is very melodic. That's why I take a song like the Misfits and turn it into this beautiful landscape of sounds, Alice in Wonderland, with the vocals talking about murder and rape, which is not cool. I don't endorse that. But yeah, it's a very crazy contrast. And people tell me, especially women, I don't know if they're more sensitive, but they come up to me and they're like, that was a trip. Like we went through this voyage. And I'm like, oh, I'm surprised you you were hanging in there for an hour and a half. But yeah, so definitely punk rock, man.
Any Ramones in your catalog or
Not as much. Not as much. They're cool. They're cool, definitely. And I have more respect for them now than I did before. Especially since the Misfits were like good buddies with the Ramones. They came up together.
it's because people always go to the obvious songs, whatever, bro. But to me, it's songs like I Believe in Miracles. That's my favorite Ramones song, bro, and that's a beautiful song,
The
bro.
KKK took my
My baby
baby
away.
away. Yeah, I mean they're a great band, definitely. But to me, the Misfits, and then seeing them live and interacting with them, I got to know Jerry a little bit, and we were talking a lot like about how things get violent. I don't know if you remember this guy, Vampiro Canadiense, and he was in the Misfits for a short while, right? He's a wrestler, and he actually came up here So I don't know if he's from. I don't think he's from Canada. He's probably from California, but he started his wrestling career here locally. Anyway, he somehow ends up in the Misfits, and then he quits the Misfits, goes to Mexico City. I used to drink a lot, and I used to be into martial arts, and I thought I was going to be a professional fighter. Actually, I didn't think I was going to be a professional musician. But anyway, I go see this guy at a place called La Diabla in Mexico City, and he comes out, and I'm already super drunk, acting like a moron. You know, not again, kids. I don't endorse this behavior, but the guy comes out and he called himself a bass player, but he came out and he was really. To this day, he's a very attractive dude, super buffed and whatever. And he comes out, takes off his shirt, and he's acting like this, like playboy. That offended me, man. He didn't play bass. He had a bass player, and I start shit with this dude, man. And I'm in the front row, like trying to pick a fight. I could fight, but I'm like half his size, bro. And he's a professional fighter, and I'm just an amateur at somebody's gym, bro. Like at the San Juan Boxing Club or something. So he takes notice of me, man, and he just smiles, and I'm still like obnoxious, bro. Like I flip him off, and my cousins are grabbing me. So they threw me out of there, man. I wish he would have kicked my ass, man. I wish he would have kicked my ass.
Just have a story to tell.
No, just so that I would calm down, you know, because eventually I did get my ass kicked.
Have him humble you.
Yeah, yeah. I would have been humbled by him. So so he was in the Misfits, and I told Jerry about it. Jerry was having like, you should have kicked his ass, and I'm like, yeah, right, buddy. But Jerry was super cool. Yeah, they're my favorite band.
Yeah, we got a buddy that used to do he used to do lucha libre locally too, bro, and those fans get intense, man.
Hell yeah.
We'd see ladies getting all into
especially the ladies.
More so the ladies, bro.
Yeah. It's hilarious, man. It's a great culture, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And then this dude's retired. He's got a podcast now. It's pretty interesting. He's not gonna remember me, you know. I'm sure he's had a lot of those idiots come up to him trying to pick a fight with him. But the Misfits or Jerry only was really kind to me. I met him a couple of times, hung out with him, and he was, good guy, man.
Nice.
Good guy. Doyle, I met a few times. He's very reserved. He's a little bit of a reserved
to himself. Yeah.
Yeah, not. And I was telling people, I'm like, monsters are not supposed to be friendly. That was corny, but that was my way of justifying how much of a jerk he is, you know. But yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of Misfits, man. A lot of punk rock, definitely. A lot of jazz too. A lot of jazz.
Nice.
Recommend jazz. If you wanna go on trips without any substances, listen to John Coltrane. Listen to Dizzy, Charlie Parker, Cecil Taylor, bro. That dude is whack. Sun Ra. Ever heard of Sun Ra?
I've heard the name.
Bro. If you think Zappa is crazy, dude, Sun Ra like really lived it. He believed he came from a different planet, had a story, made like I don't know, don't quote me on this, but it was like hundreds of albums that he released. He would release like 50 a year, dude.
Wow.
All hand painted. Like every single, so they would do an album and he had like an orchestra. It was called the Sun Ra, I think, Electric Orchestra with an A. And it was like 12 members and they would print their own albums and they do the artwork themselves. So the same album had
different covers.
Yeah. Yeah, just I mean, there's great music in there as well, but the artwork is really, really interesting because it's all these dudes that are super psychedelic in the 60s. So Sun Ra's a good. I don't know. We've turned this into like the music suggestions, or what would you call it? Recommendations.
Dude, I find myself listening to the same stuff over and over, man. Do I like new music? I'm old school, bro. I don't know that I like too much of the new stuff. As far as pop music, the last band that I found myself really liking that's famous was the Black Keys, and that was what, like over 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
that's a long time ago already.
That was like over 10, 15 years ago that my cousin told me about them. My cousin from California told me about them. And I was almost non-receptive to her suggestion. And once I heard the songs, I was like, yeah, I like these fuckers.
They're pretty cool.
They're badass. I like them a lot.
There's good music out there. It's just we don't have access to it. But there's really cool music out there.
And as far as what got me into not all country, but Sturgill Simpson, because he's very psychedelic too and very poetic with his approach. He's not regular country, bro, not at all.
I don't think there's regular country anymore. I think it died out.
Yeah, no.
Now you have all these
Party country.
yeah, weird stuff. I mean, whatever.
It suits a certain crowd for sure. It's every music has their fans, whatever. But as far as country goes, for me, it's Sturgill Simpson, bro. That's what I like listening to because he's if there's a modern outlaw country type figure, but not so much because he's also psychedelic. He's the way to go, bro. He's
That would
awesome.
be him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's definitely good things out there. You know, we don't have access to it. There's great musicians, and then some of them don't get a chance to record, which is odd because you can record at home. You know, like my last album was recorded on a laptop. You know, and I own a studio, and I wanted to record it in odd places.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually noise from like places not having proper grounding, you know, that kind of stuff. And I just left it. I could have like taken it out, but that's too easy.
That's part of the artist's approach to it, just to add depth to the situation of your recording,
There was a song that I wrote. It's called
your
on
circumstance.
right. There was a song I wrote at a Motel 6, man, or one of those cheap hotels, like $50 a night, and it's called On a Cloudy Day because it was raining that day for no other reason. And I happened to be, my room was in a corner and it had a really cool view. But this hotel had only one room with one good view. It was like crap, bro. Prostitutes running around in the middle of the night, that kind of hotel, which is sometimes the only thing you can afford when you're on tour, right?
Right.
And yeah, looking at it, I'm looking at out the window and it's raining and I don't have a title for this thing, which I really wrote on the spot. Like this whole record was written and recorded at the same. Like as soon as I wrote it, I recorded it so I wouldn't forget it, and that's what ended up on the record. So there's mistakes in there. There's sounds are off, or some of the songs sound different because I use different pedals, whatever was available that day. So that's also, you get tired of doing the same thing over and over. You work in a studio, everything's perfect,
Processed.
too processed or too aligned, you know, like Beat Detective or whatever you call it. And to me, that's horrible, dude. I've been complaining about it now. I don't know if you heard of the whole thing with Giacomo Tura.
Mm-mm.
Man. So this Italian guy, he had like 2 million followers on Instagram, and he's got his own D'Angelico model and his own pickups, and he was like the next Steve Vai or whatever, right? And turns out he was stealing songs from lesser known YouTubers, which is cool. You can say it's a cover, but the problem is he was slowing it down, recording it super slow, and then speeding it up. So now he's faking his playing, and everybody's complaining about him, and everybody's talking about it. Everybody's got a YouTube channel that's shit. Now we're talking about him, even us, right? We're not. This is not what this channel's about, but we're talking about it. The problem is not him. The problem is all the gullible people believing that everybody that sounds so amazing is actually playing live. 99% of the people that I've seen, and I don't want to drop any names because I already have in some comments, but they've been faking it. And I've been talking about this for 13 years. Because I'm a producer, I know how things sound when they're played live and when they're being chopped and edited. as a guitar player, bass player, when you hit the bass, you slap the bass, that thing oscillates a certain way. And when you hit it again, you catch it on the mid bounce and it sounds different. But when you hear these guys, every note is so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that they edit the hell out of it.
Yeah.
But all these kids, they just see a dude with like multiple camera angles, cool lights, a nice shirt, looking super cool, and they believe that that's what they're playing. Dude, if you want to hear a real human play, go to my channel and listen to my mess ups and how dirty it sounds. Well, this whole thing with Giacomo, everybody's complaining about him, and I'm like, dude, it's our fault. We've made these people famous. We keep liking their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a comment by Rick Beato saying that he had him on his channel, and he says, I saw him when he came to the studio, I saw him play live, and I realized he couldn't play. I'm like, bro, you should have done your due diligence.
Before wasting your time.
So either you're lying, because he still put the video out. If you come to me and you can't play, I'm just going to say, you know what, buddy? Why don't we wait 6 months? Come back. He still put it out. Why? Either he's a moron for not doing his due diligence and making sure he could play.
He knows he's going to get the views.
He knows he's going to get those 2 million guys. So he's lying to us too. So Rick Beato, stop lying, buddy. Sorry. Come on, you want those views.
Oh, I didn't even know that, bro, and that's crazy because I like Rick Beato, bro, but
I like him too, dude. He's got great content, but don't fool me, bro.
yeah.
I've been recording probably as long as you have. So you can do that to my son, but don't do it to me. So you're either a liar or a moron or both.
Yeah, dude, it's
At least for that one instance, that doesn't mean he's a bad person.
no, of course not.
Or he's actually a really good guitar player himself, But come on, we gotta stop with this nonsense, and that's why my channel it's got 300 subscribers because it's crappy audio with my iPhone coming through my little crappy amp and playing it live. I write it, and then I do 2 takes, and one is less shitty than the other one, and that's the one I post.
Not so much music based, but you saw my mountain bike videos that I've been posting,
Yep.
right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm always tagging San Diego on them because that's where I'm riding after work. I actually got a message a couple days ago on one of my videos. They sent me a message saying, "Hey, send me your video and via private message, and I'm gonna send you some information." And I was like, "Oh, cool! They're gonna share my video. I guess they just want permission to do it, whatever." And no, like I'm talking to a person. It's not a bot. You can tell it's a person by the typos and shit, whatever, you know. And they're pretty much saying, "Hey, so I run this page on Instagram and other social media. Give me some money and I'll promote your video and I'll get you more followers and this and this and that." And they're pretty much telling me, "I can guarantee you're gonna have more followers by this time tomorrow, whatever the fuck." I'm like, "No, man, I'm not giving you my money."
Right there. Yeah.
Like no. And it's not so much that I'm being humble about it, but it's just I don't give a fuck if people watch it or not.
And I watch it because I was telling you, remember, I'm like, to me, that's interesting because I used to ride mountain bikes before I got sick.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I wish I could do that, bro. I was telling you, dude, I think I'm going to trade my Harley for a mountain bike so I could ride again. But to some of us, it's interesting because we ride or we rode. But who cares if anybody's watching?
I care. I mean, obviously I'm posting it for a reason, but it's for my immediate friends and family.
Yeah, for us.
To see what I'm doing, or I'm being active. I'm not being lazy I could be in the hotel room watching 1,000-Pound Sisters like I used to or whatever, but it's like, nah, fuck that. I'm gonna ride my bike and
hell yeah,
and get it together, get healthy doing it if I can. But the second this person said, "Yeah, man, I'll share it on my page, it's gonna get you a bunch of followers and this and that," it just seems fake to me.
super fake. So which camera is? Should I look into that camera? Kids, do not buy plays. Do not buy likes. It's not worth it. So if I spend let's say that I have a show and I make a flyer, and then I spend $100 in promo to get people through the door, but only 50 people can fit. Why am I going to spend $100, which gets me what, like 50,000 views. I don't need 50,000 people. I just need 25 guys to show up to my show. That's it. Not even 50. If I spend the $100 that I was gonna make at the show, what's the point? Who am I working for? So don't do it because it's fake. One day you're gonna be 50, and none of this is gonna matter.
It won't.
Social media is not. It's not the future. It's actually the past, and there's a lot of things that are fake. I actually have one fake video on my channel. I might on my old Instagram. I might repost it. Kind of fake. We sped it up a little bit. We sped it up like 2%. I played it pretty fast, but me and my friend kept messing with it. I'm like, dude, what if we sped it up a little bit more? And it just it got insane, man. Like super fast, but that's not how I play.
Yeah, no, because 2% is gonna be significantly different, but not noticeable.
Exactly. It almost looks like that's how I play, but it's nah. It's 2% less, at least. So yeah, just there's a lot of fakery and fuckery. So we need to stop that. Maybe this podcast will help. Kids that are playing in their bed, bro. Stop playing in your bedroom. Go get a band. Go rehearse. Go play some shows at your local high school, and get a following that way.
And I can attest to that, bro, because look, as far as me, I played guitar in my bedroom for the longest time. I played with a couple of bands, but we never did anything significant. We never had any shows, or we tried to do shows, but it just never fell through. And I wasted away my talent just playing in my bedroom to myself, to the point where, not an excuse and whatever the fuck, but I tell everybody to the day, am I talented? Yeah, I am. But I'm not as good as I could have been if I put myself out there more.
Right.
If I put myself out there more, it took me having a son and him turning 6, 7 years old when we recorded our first song for me to finally get music out there. Like, I wish I'd done this a lot sooner. I mean, things happen the way they needed to happen.
Right.
With life, whatever it is, what it is. But I just think, again, I've been playing for 30 years. Like we did the math earlier. Like, holy shit, I should be a lot better than I am. Again, I'm not terrible, but I wish
You would have done other things differently. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that my life has been. I done whatever the fuck I wanted to do. Yeah, that's why I'm doing it again. And this whole thing, at first it would start like as a joke, like I'm gonna do a solo world tour, and then it wasn't a joke. Then it started happening,
And then you got to follow through.
and then you gotta follow through. So I'm gonna tour the world with this melancholy tour, just with my bass, and then whatever local guys want to join in and jam the last 4 songs, whatever. But the idea is for me to travel by myself and just be on this lonely journey worldwide. If I make money, it doesn't matter. If the creator puts things in a way where they happen, and they always happen. You just gotta be willing to accept the the consequences, which are usually good.
Mm-hmm.
Consequences are not necessarily negative.
Again, it's your prayer's been answered.
Yeah.
Now you got to step up to bat.
Now just do it.
Yeah.
Which is the easy part if you think about it, because it's what you wanted to do. So you just do it.
And not so much myself, but I'm glad that it translates over to my son. Like if you were to ask me as a guitarist to step in and do something, I'm like, fuck, I'm on the spot. I probably can't do it. And my son's balls to the wall, bro. My son's like, fuck yeah, I'll do it.
Kids don't care.
He
Yeah.
don't give a shit.
Yeah, my son. He's turning 17 pretty soon, but he sent me a video when he was 6, and he was singing, and just the confidence he had, bro. Like he didn't care. Mm-hmm. And if we kill that inner child in us, it's all gonna go to shit. So we gotta keep it alive. And that's why people tell me, "Oh, well, you haven't matured, dude." I don't want to be mature. I want to be the same 14-year-old kid that I was. Hopefully, have a little more money so I can do whatever I wanted to do.
That's one of the things that we talked about with the band last episode with David, the guitarist. We were talking about how he's talking about how he quit music for, I think he said 8 years. 7, 8 years.
Wow.
And I jumped in and said, why? Because you had to grow up. Because I did the same thing, At some point in my mid to late 20s, I was like, I gotta fucking grow up. I saw the guitar that I regret selling uh, a red Fender Strat that had a Highway One Strat,
Oh yeah, I
and
remember those.
the paint was a satin red paint job, bro, like nice and matte finish. It was a beautiful guitar, and I decided to grow up and I sold that fucker, bro, and I regret it
Yeah.
because ultimately, and I'm sure you feel the same way, but music helps us cope with everything. Music is life.
It's one of the reasons why I didn't become an addict or a murderer or in prison. It's music. Usually, the whole melancholy tour has to do with losing a lot of people around me. I've lost 3 or 4 people around me. You don't get sad, but there's a sense of melancholy, and it has to do with coping with it. How do I cope with these people leaving? And it's with my bass and singing some songs. Music is what's pulled me through, and it's always gonna happen because it happened since I was 13. Being a troubled kid. So yeah, my bass is like my best friend. Um, I have a very deep connection with the instrument, and I'm not even that good, but I really connect with it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes it's not in the mood to play. It's very temperamental as well.
Now, are you to the point with your basses? I know you said you're building another one for yourself too, but are you to a point where maybe after you finish building that one and then you finish mastering this one here, your prototype, are you content with what you have already as far as instruments are
You know,
concerned, or
that's a very good question because I was thinking about that last night. I'm like, what's gonna happen when I build a better instrument? What's gonna happen to this one? But I realized that I'm not building a better version of this. I'm building a slightly different one. So the next one's gonna be hollow body. It's gonna be about 6 inches thick. So it's almost an acoustic bass and headless and possibly a 6 string. Possibly, I'm not sure. And also, it's gonna be a shorter scale. We were talking with Adrian,
mm-hmm.
33 inches. So it's gonna be different than this one. So I'll probably travel with both of them, if I can afford it. Because traveling these days with 2 instruments is almost impossible. It gets pricey. So that's another problem. And I might have to travel with a headless because it's easier to put in the overhead compartment on an airplane. So the idea was that I was gonna make a base where I could remove the neck and put it in a backpack,
Right?
but that doesn't really work. Fodera made one and it doesn't really work. It's actually the same thing.
It would kill the sustain, I would imagine, no?
Apparently, the one they made sounds good, but I'm not. If I have a headless, it's small enough to fit in an airplane. So why am I gonna make it shorter? It already works. Unless they change those overhead compartments and they shorten it, well then I might have to make something that collapses. But it might kill the sustain. I don't know,
I still get weirded out by headless guitars, bro.
bro. Once you go headless, you never go back. Trust me. I was the same way. I hated them. I'm like, those things are ugly. Until I made the first prototype, dude, it's the best guitar I've ever played. It's so comfortable. It doesn't look the same, but some headless guitars have really odd looking headstocks.
Right.
Mine looks like a katana, like a
Mm.
sword. So it looks kind of cool. It looks like a weapon. I don't know why everything that I make looks like a weapon. I'm a non-violent guy, but but it looks cool. It looks cool. I'll send you some pics. Maybe you can post them up.
Oh yeah, man, for sure.
Uh, and they're so easy to play. They're so light. There's no headstock dive, which is a problem with a lot of guitars. Not Fender so much, but some of the Schecters, like the SG, horrible. You can't hold an SG at all. It's always diving.
Mm-hmm.
A Flying V, same thing. They're always diving. Without a headstock, there's no problem there. So it has to do with trying to push the level of technicality.
Mm-hmm.
What's more comfortable to make me play better, more intricate stuff. So that's why we came. The Exotica guitars design is very very interesting. I designed it with a guy by the name of Justin Harris. California, and he's not a guitar builder. He can build guitars, but he's more of a guitar designer. And we took some of the concepts that Strandberg had. Through Justin, we got the um, the plans, the actual
CAD files are
the CAD files from Strandberg, which I thought was very
fortunate.
very kind of him. I've never met him myself. Like maybe at the NAM show I met him, but anyway, so we took that concept and we explained to him through Justin that we were trying to correct whatever flaws were in his design. So here's these two cocky guys thinking we can outdo this engineer, right? And he's like, "Well, there's the files," and that's what we did. We took it and we adjusted some things.
Doctored it up.
Yeah, and then I'm my own test pilot. So I put it on, I test it out, and the problem is with a lot of guitar designers, they're not that great a guitar player, so they have to rely on somebody. The problem is if you're getting a free guitar, you're gonna say it's great, right? And for me, it's like, dude, if it sucks, we gotta make a cut here. We gotta extend the horn. We gotta do this because it's not balancing correctly. So I'm not friendly with myself
Yeah.
when I'm testing something we designed, which is why this is a prototype. You know, there's a lot of things that were not done correctly, and that's why it's got holes. And but right now it's playing really really well, and it's holding really good, holds the tuning. So yeah, again, children, don't go buy guitars just because they're famous brands. Make sure you try them out. And if you're gonna play in a punk rock band, it doesn't matter. You can play any guitar; it's cool. But if you're trying to be the next Joe Satriani, you know, bro, you gotta have something that's gonna get you there. You know, you need an F1.
Mm-hmm.
But
You know, I was asking you about guitars and if you're complacent with what you have yet or not, because I think I finally hit that point to where my only thought is with the guitars that I've got, my only thought is only way. I'm sure it might change, but the only way I'll buy another guitar is if my acoustic ever takes a shit. Outside of that, I think I'm set with what I've got now. I'm happy with what I've got, and I think I need a better amp, and that's it.
yeah, well, you never know. Things might change. I'm for the style that I'm doing. This is it. But if I was playing in a rock band, I need a P bass.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably buy one or make one. I think I would rather that. It's weird because I don't want to play anybody else's brands, but I think I might buy a P bass one of these days, just to rock out. You know, play with a pick and down by my knees and just be the Ramones or something.
Yeah.
But as far as the music that I'm doing and where I'm trying to take this whole thing, which is promoting the solo bass thing, this is it.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. And it's super versatile, but imagine me playing this, you know, on like playing the Misfits on this thing, you know, a cover band or something.
Let's do it.
You know, it would be silly, right? but yeah, this is the way to go for what I'm doing. For just about everything, like for recording, pop music, whatever. But I good old rock and roll would be a P bass. This is gonna be pretty much it. And the next one we're building is, like I said, about 6 inches, and then headless. So in reality, this is what I'm gonna play. I don't think I should make another one. This is you know, those holes don't look that bad.
No, they don't.
I thought I was gonna hate them, but I got used to them. You know, so when I go through customs, they shine a light through it.
I was gonna say you could have your secret stash in there.
Well, you can't because that's the first thing they look for.
No, but whenever you're on stage.
Oh, right. I usually store my gum in there.
I got my chapstick in there.
Chapstick. So chapstick resides. Let's see. Oh, by the way, you know we live in what is it, like 12% humidity?
Yep.
So there's another stash for chapstick. But 12% humidity, man. 92% in Buenos Aires.
Wow.
So the day I arrive, it's pouring. Well, actually, I arrived the day before, but the first show I had was pouring. I pull out the bass and it's sweating, dude. Like there's water coming out of the wood
Wow.
because there's no finish on it. It just has a very thin coat of grain sealer,
Right.
right, and oil, and it was sweating. And then I have really curly hair, and this is gonna sound stupid, bro, but I actually like use a flat iron, right? Right. So anyway, I did my hair super cool for show, right? And I'm like, dude, I get out of the Uber and my hair's like so like freezy and
Soul glow.
oh horrible, dude. And I'm like, well, whatever, and I had no hat, no nothing, no hair tie. Then I pull the bass out of the case, and it's sweating, dude. I mean, it was like slipping. Everything was wet. I'm like, did this thing get wet? But the case was dry. It was just that humid.
Wow.
So I remember like tapping stuff where I tap and I slide, and I would go past the fret because it was so slippery. It was so hard to adjust. And I had to like do repairs on the bass the next day. I had to take a like a razor blade and shave it down. It was bleeding water, man. It was so insane. Like Florida's kind of wet. It's kind of humid, but Buenos Aires is freaking crazy, dude. It's like underwater, bro.
So speaking of, how often do you change your strings?
Pretty often.
Pretty often?
Yeah.
Maybe before every show, or even more
Before
often than
every
that?
show. Before every show. I used to be able to afford every week. As I got older, I've been. If I don't have a show, I'll stay on them. But and then I used to have an endorsement, and that that died out. So I have to buy my strings now, and they're not cheap, man.
Mm-mm.
So before every show, but before it was every week for like 6 bases, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, it was getting expensive.
It adds up.
Sure does. And then when I got this, there's this company, which if you haven't tried it, it's great. Probably the best strings I've ever played. SIT.
No.
They're made in America, man. Great strings. And
I've seen them. Yellow logo, I think,
yeah,
with hands, I think, or I don't know.
yeah. It's like strings in a hand.
Yeah.
Stay in tune strings. SIT. And
Ah.
yeah, right. They work great, man. And I used to have a little deal with them a few years ago. And the problem is they're not available area. Like they don't have them locally. If they did, I'd buy them, but you have to order them. So yeah, I used to change them every week, whether I had a show or not. Now it's before every show. If I have 2 shows in a row, I can hang. Have 3, stretching it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, usually good strings on a bass make a huge difference.
I remember you were talking about, and I believe I'm correct in saying this, when you were talking at the beginning about the Mars Volta. I remember reading or hearing an interview with Omar Rodriguez Lopez where he wouldn't change the strings up for a long time.
I think they come from a very sloppy background. I might be wrong. Like I've never met those guys. I met Tony Ajar. I happened to be guest when they were recording Sparta.
Right. I love Sparta more than anything, bro.
They're cool, dude. They're cool. I met him and Matt Miller. I hung out with Matt. I connected with him. With Tony, it was like clashing, bro. Like a bully against a bully. It was hilarious, dude. He said, I'm part French, part Mexican. He says, you're like a diner. I'll never forget that. He says, you're stinky and smelly. Or no, you're greasy and smelly or something like that. Greasy and smelly, he said. Yeah, it was hilarious. But anyway, I think they just come from a sloppy background. I'm a punk rocker, bro, but I changed my strings.
Yeah.
You know, like you gotta clean your underwear, man. It's like take a shower or whatever.
Yeah, I think it was something about the dead sound in the strings. But I mean, I'm not performing, so I change mine out seldomly, not that often. But But I know if they don't sound right, they gotta go.
You gotta go.
Especially on my acoustic.
Oh yeah, especially on acoustic. And the thing is, dude, if you want darker strings, get flat wounds.
Mm-hmm.
And there's darker strings too, man. Just get the right string. Like, don't use that as an excuse to be lazy. I don't know the guy, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that we haven't touched base on yet is you're on a personal buddy level with Billy Gibbons, bro, from ZZ Top.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's a good dude. It's a interesting story on how we met, but um, he's very attached to Mexican culture, and me being, from this area, being Mexican, like we connect on that level,
Nice.
especially on the food. We like, I'll tell you a story. Like he wanted to go to Rosa's Cantina, right? And we were in town, and he says, "Dude, I don't want to drink, but I want to go to Rosa's, and I don't want to eat because we just ate, but I still want to go to Rosa's." I'm like, "All right, whatever." He says, "I have an idea," because I always bailed him out. I was his like scapegoat. So he says, "I have an idea." He says, "Do you know caguamas?" I'm like, "Bro, do I know caguamas? Come on, bro." And he's trying to explain. He's like, "It's like this Mexican beer." I'm like, "Dude, I know exactly what they are." He says, "Well, they never have them in the States. So we'll go in there and we'll order two caguamas. And I know they're not going to have them. So we'll just take some water and leave." I'm like, "All right, whatever." So we go. He's looking at the beer menu and looking around. He knows there's no caguamas. And he says, "Hey, do you happen to have Carta Blanca caguamas?" And she's like, "As a matter of fact, I do in the back."
Oh shit.
So in that video, there's us with two caguamas, and we're like, "Dude, we're not gonna drink." I had to drive. I wasn't gonna drink that crap. Everybody around is like expecting us to get messed up, and we're just like, "Dude, we gotta get out of here, man." But yeah, he's a funny dude, man. Really, really wise guy. Wise man, not wise guy, but wise human. Very kind. Um, he's hooked me up with a lot of people, with a lot of cool people, like um, Slash and guys. His best friend's the guy Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses,
Yep.
which is really weird because he's a little younger than him.
Right.
And then I've spoke to Matt on the phone one time. And he sounds like a surfer, dude, like a super like Bill and Ted or something.
Yeah, bro.
But
It's grody.
yeah, but he's like 65
Yeah.
now, and sounds like physically sounds really young. But yeah, Billy's a cool dude, man. Everybody should listen to Billy. Billy's solo albums. Have you heard them?
No, not at
They're
all.
cool. They're really really interesting stuff. Yeah, Billy's a genius, man.
Yeah, I know my foreman at work. I believe his top two bands were ZZ Top and Metallica. So even before I started talking to you, we had a ZZ Top conversation not that long ago, bro. So it was interesting that you're.
Yeah, I never share that because it's a very private
Yeah.
interaction with him, and then I don't see him that often. That dude is always busy, so I don't bother him too much. I'll get an email from him occasionally, and then if I text him, he'll reply. But it's like, what am I gonna text him,
Yeah.
bro? I'm at Rosas, right? But anyway, I'll text him for his birthday or something. Um, I was gonna get to so we walk into this guitar center, and this is super strange, man, because we're just he wanted to find a P bass, like a 54 P bass, but that they re-released a Squire version of it or something, because he had this crazy idea of installing a pickup that his buddy designed, and he's explained to me why he's looking to buy one, and I'm like, "Dude, you're Billy Gibbons, you can have one built." But he wanted to buy one for like $400. So we walk into this guitar center, and of course he walks in, bro. What's gonna happen? Everybody's gonna crowd around him, and I'm just kind of hanging out, looking at basses. I'm like, "Dude, have you seen that amp?" And it was a bass amp, a Trace Elliott amp called the Elf, which is it weighs about a pound, and it's 220 watts or like some odd number of watts, right? And I'm like, have you seen that? And he's like, what is it? I'm like, it's a bass amp. He's like, really, a bass head? I'm like, yeah, and it's 200 watts. He's like, okay. So I plug it in. He's like, test it out. So they bring me a bass, and I plug it in. It sounds cool. And he tells the sales guy, do you have a Les Paul? He says, yeah, we do. So they bring out the nicest Les Paul. It's just me and Billy, and then there's a crowd, but they don't get close to him. You know, they're kind of shy. But if there's maybe 40 people, and it's just me and Billy. So he plugs this Les Paul into this Elf, Trace Elliott Elf, and turns all the dials to 10. And he starts playing, dude, and it sounds exactly like CC Top. And I look at him, I'm like, Billy, you gotta do this. You know what I'm gonna request? And he says, yeah. And he goes, ding, 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 through a bass amp, through a bass cabinet, and it sounds exactly like the record, dude. And that's when I knew this guy was a genius. It was all in his fingers, had nothing to do with the gear, and it was cool, man. It was a very nice experience to have him play that shit for me, you know, right in front of me, and it was really through a bass amp. So he buys it. He buys the bass amp. He says, I might have a use for this. And I'm like, what? He says, yeah, I might want to plug into something, and I can just have an app. So the funny story is that I'm like, I think I can get you a good deal. And this dude's a millionaire, right? And we're trying to get a deal on the $200 amp. So I'm like, yeah, let me see if I can get a good deal, bro. He says, all right. I'm like, well, let me walk you to the car, and then I'll come back in. So I come back in, and I tell the dude, hey, Billy wants it. He says, I can get him a sweet deal, man, but it's got to be through the back door because he can't know that I'm buying it for him. I'm going to buy it for myself. He says, do you guys have cash?
Employee discount or?
Right. So Billy doesn't have cash, but I had cash, and he says, can I borrow $200? And I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm a poor guy, dude. I don't have expendable resources, but I happen to have the $200, and I loaned it to Billy so he can buy this amp. And he paid me back like a week later.
Of course.
But it was hilarious, dude. We're in the back cutting a deal for a amp that the guy could have gotten fired for $200.
And he's got the story for the rest of his life too.
Yeah, the guy, right, the rep. He's like, yeah, I sold that to Billy, and I think Billy gave him some pics or something. It was less than $200 because it was like $186, and it was
Probably like a 15% off deal or something.
something like that. No tax.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a good guy, man. I don't see him as often as and sometimes when I'm in LA, I don't even bother calling him because he's never there. He lives in LA. He's got a house in Houston and one in LA. You never catch him. He's never home. So I don't even bother, dude. It's like I have bigger chances of seeing him somewhere else, like bumping into him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he flies like commercial, obviously, like all of us, but like the cheapest seats, bro. Yeah, like he doesn't get like first class or anything. He's like, yeah, he mingles, man,
And I'm sure he's wearing the hat and everything, and
all the time.
so people know who he is, of course. Too.
Yeah. So he wears that. He's got that weird hat. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
He got it from a tribe in Africa. He traded his hat for that, and he always wears it. I don't know if it's a replica, but I'm like, dude, I've seen you with the same shit for like 2 years in a row, dude. I don't think you're washing it every day, you know. So it might be a replica. I don't know, but no, he looks the part, man. He's 100% of the time. The suits are custom made. Yeah, really, really cool. I'm just happy that we lived through an era where those people were around. So that kind of rock star, you know.
That's cool that you're saying that he mingles because, like I run into people, but I don't really approach them, bro. It's just leave them be.
Billy's the guy that will approach you. he'll be interested in talking. He's a people's person. He's interested in what you have to say. And I don't fanboy ever. I did it once and it backfired with Alex Skolnick from
I know the name.
Testament.
Yeah.
Yeah, big fan of the guy, and I almost did a record with him, and it all fell off when I said, "Can we take a picture?" And he was like, "You can see the pictures. He's bummed out. He's like, oh, this dude's not serious." Because I represented this company, and they were trying to get him to play on a jazz album, and here I am acting like a moron, and yeah, it didn't work out. Didn't work out. So I don't fanboy, dude, and I think they appreciate that. You know, they're like the pictures that I have with Billy, he took on his phone, and he emailed me those pictures.
Nice.
I was never like, hey, dude, let's take a picture. I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna enjoy them. When I first met him, I'm just like, I'm just gonna enjoy the moment.
Live in it.
Yeah, yeah. Be in the moment, be present, and it turned out into a nice friendship. And that it is what it is, you know. I don't ask him for anything. I don't, but he does open a lot of doors, man. My friendship with him has opened a lot of doors.
Nice.
I have to admit that. It's not my fault, man. Like I don't look for it, you know. But it's like, yeah, sure, come right in, man. What am I gonna say? No, of course not.
And have you gotten a chance to ride with him in his cars?
No, it's
No.
always me driving. He's afraid of speed, just like I am.
Yeah, I don't speed myself.
No, man, I'm like 45, man, on the freeway, pissing everybody off, and he likes that. He hates people that drive fast.
Yeah, I go the speed limit, bro, and I think the last ticket I had was early 2000s, bro, when I decided I'm not going to speed because I'm just giving the government free money
Yeah,
because I'm in a hurry.
you just leave earlier.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's a cholo at heart, bro.
You see?
Yes, low and slow. Yeah, he's just cruising. No motorcycles. He's not a motorcycle guy. I'm a motorcycle guy. He's a car guy. I'm not. I don't care for cars that much.
Mm.
But yeah, no, I've never. So he bought two Elements, the Honda Elements.
Mm-hmm. Not in his
Not in right. So
not in his repertoire.
right. So he buys two from a car rental company. He was just gonna buy one because he needed one for a certain thing. I don't know. Like he gets crazy ideas, right? So he needed one, but they talked him into buying two because it was a good deal. So he bought them.
Oh, shit.
So he says, "Well, this shit needs wheels, man." So he goes to a cholo place and they pimp it out. So he's got to bring the other one too. So he's got two, and they're all pimped out. So you see this dude in L.A. in an Element, all like cholo style. It's hilarious, dude.
Hell yeah, man. That's
Yeah,
cool.
but I never got to drive it. He showed me pictures. He talked about just another quick story about him. He said, I guess it was in the 80s. He drove whatever car it was. It was like a '69 Impala or whatever it was, from L.A. to Houston. And when he went through Phoenix, these cholos pulled him over because it was a low rider, no AC, nothing, and it was in the middle of the summer, and it was him and his buddy. So I guess they're at a gas station or whatever, and these cholos like approach him, and they're like, "Dude, that's not right. That's not like whatever. The rims were off or something wasn't within the style." So they talk him into going to this body shop, man, and they rebuild his car. He says, "Dude, they charged me a lot of money, but I could pay it," and it took him like 2 days, and then they're like, he said they wouldn't let him go unless the car was right. So they pimped it out for him, and then he came back to Houston.
Like, now you're set to go. This is the right way to ride that car.
Right. So whatever car it was, I can't remember, but that guy has stories. Just hanging out with the Stones
Oh, he's got that rock and roller prestige, bro.
yeah. Well, there was he's the second biggest collector of Chicano art in the world.
Oh shit.
Yeah, the other guy is Cheech. but millions of dollars in Chicano artwork, man. So we were driving on Paisano, and there's this guy painting the train station just on the streets, and he says, "Dude, let's pull over. I want to see this Chicano guy," which was not Chicano. He was tanned. He was he was not Hispanic, but he was really he might have been Hawaiian or whatever. He was really tanned, and he's talking to him, and the kid's not paying attention to us, but we look kind of weird. I had my stash like curled up, and he's got his beard and dressed up, and we're in a Porsche, so we didn't look normal. And after a few minutes, like Billy's trying to talk to him, and this kid's not having it. But after
Not giving him the time of day.
yeah, but after a few minutes, he says, "Are you guys in a band? Because you guys are all dressed to play." And he says, "Yeah, he's in the Beatles, and I'm in the Rolling Stones." And I'm like, "Dude, what the fuck, bro?" And the guy's like, "Really? You're in the Rolling Stones?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's in the Beatles. And I'm like, "Who would I be in the Beatles, dude? The Beatle?" Right? And the kid bought it. So anyway, he's talking to us now, and he texts his brother, and he says, "I'm here with a guy with a beard." He says, "Dude, that's Billy Gibbons." And he takes a picture and sends it. He says, "Dude, don't let him go." But we had to leave, and the guy's trying to paint his picture or whatever. And he's just like, "I don't have time. We gotta go." But that was one of the. Dude, it was always something happening with that guy. And we were being followed, and we didn't know. We came out on the news, and I had no clue we were being followed. Here I am, like telling him, "Bro, you got nothing to worry about. We got one guy that was bodyguarding our area, not even directly, but our area within our, and that guy couldn't even keep the reporters away, man. We didn't even know. We had no idea we were being followed until we saw, or I saw it. Somebody called me and they're like, "Dude, you're on the news." I'm like, "Dude, we're supposed to be having this private conversation, and there's somebody taking pictures of us." Mysterious guy hanging out with Billy Gibbons at a train station on a Sunday evening. And if they knew what we were talking about, bro, they would freak out. We're talking about aliens.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
So is Billy a believer
I,
or a
I,
skeptic?
I can't speak for him, but
Yeah.
he did say he had an artifact
Oh shit!
that's not from here, whatever that means. So yeah, we had some deep conversations, bro. I just don't see the evidence. There's something out there, but I haven't seen enough evidence for me to say, yeah, there's aliens. But apparently he has. So if they knew what we were talking about, bro, that would have been like freaky because there's like long distance footage of us hanging,
Right.
like walking inside the train station, which is supposed to be closed on a Sunday, and we're just walking around, dude, in there. No, there's no
Having that alien conversation.
weird, huh? Weird. Yeah. Yeah, really interesting guy. I love him to death.
Not him, but I always wondered. The first time that Billy Corgan was on the Rogan podcast, he talked about seeing a shapeshifter before his eyes. Someone in politics or someone famous. I can't remember, but he didn't name them, and that stayed in my head for the longest time. Like I wish I knew who that was that he was talking about.
Well, I mean, there's something strange out there. It's just there's just no hard evidence of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the government releasing these UFO files, it's nonsense, bro. I saw the whole 4 hours of them being in Congress. Like
I saw through the whole thing
there's
too.
nothing, bro. There's really nothing.
They're just beating around the bush with the whole. I saw stuff, but I can't talk about it.
Yeah,
I saw beings, but I can't exactly tell what they were.
yeah. It's some bull crap. Show me some evidence and I'll be convinced. But I'm not convinced yet. I did see something crazy on Lee Trevino and I-10, bro.
What did you see?
And I've talked about it a few times, but very, very little. I don't talk about it enough. We were in high school. I was driving from. My friend had a swimming pool, and we used to swim almost every day even during school nights. And I had to drive back home. And his house was right off George Dieter. Anyway, it was like 4 miles away from my house. I'm right off Yarborough. And it was like 10 p.m. And for some reason, I took a wrong turn and I ended up on I-10 and coming towards where the Burlington used to be. And there's that strip club right before you hit Litrevino, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why my buddy was with me and why I was driving. So I don't know if this is a twisted memory of what actually happened. There was no reason for him to drive me home and me being driving. I was the driver. I don't know why he was with me because that was his house and I'm supposed to go back to my house because the next morning we have school. So as I'm driving, I'm looking towards Lee Trevino and I see this, we both see it, this rock. There's a dealership on the southern side of I-10, right? And obviously they have like balloons and flags and there's lights shining on them. There's this rock about the size of a football field floating over that dealership. And at first I thought it was a blimp, but the texture when the light hits it, it looked like the moon, like a rock. And we're like, no, we're looking at the moon. It just looks really close. But no, dude, that shit was hovering maybe 100 feet off the rooftop of that thing. And we both saw it. We pull over where the Burlington used to be. And this was a Wednesday at 10 p.m. So there's not a lot of traffic in the mid-90s. And then another car saw it. And they also pulled over. And they're looking at it. And we're all confused. So we looked at it for a few minutes. And then we just couldn't make sense of it, and I gotta get home. So we get in the car, we drive, and I keep looking through the rear view mirror, and then all of a sudden it's not there anymore. So at least 6 people saw it, because there was 2 people in the other car that pulled behind us, and there was some people a car across the street.
And you're still not convinced.
Which is a weird thing, right? It's just not. I'm not convinced because I don't see hard evidence. Even me seeing that is not hard evidence. So I can't fool myself. I want to believe, but it's not about believing. It's about knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. And that's okay.
Yeah, I think there's for sure something out there, and I want concrete evidence too, but I think it's there.
Well, I know God is there
Mm-hmm.
because I have concrete evidence of that, but I can't show it. And that's what sucks. So that means nothing to anybody else except me, And I think it's same thing goes with any type of alien life form. So show me the evidence and I'll be convinced.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't look promising right now. We'll see.
I think it's only a matter of time, bro, before something is unveiled. I was watching that movie Paul recently, that comedy movie with that alien. Seth Rogen voices him. And it kind of made sense. One of the lines that they said in that movie was something about how that's why E.T. existed, or why that's why all these other alien movies exist in our lifetime, because they're prepping us for whatever day they eventually unveil.
The thing is, who's prepping us? Who's the one prepping us? I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't think the government's smart enough. Or it's too divided.
That'd have to be the whole world in cahoots with each other.
Weird, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's just, I whatever. Like, my time on Earth is limited, so I'm just gonna have fun. And if they land, they land, bro. They better be friendly.
That's what I'm hoping, bro.
Yeah, and if they're not, whatever. Doesn't matter. We have a lot of unfriendly creatures on Earth already. If you think about it, you got crocodiles and alligators and sharks and tigers. Everywhere you go, you're screwed.
Dude,
Rattlesnakes.
I was working in Montana, bro, and in the forest of East Glacier. And the locals told us, oh yeah, hibernation isn't a real thing. If bears get hungry, they get up and
They'll fucking
look
eat
for
you, bro.
food. And then they told us too, there was this spot that we'd go to for breakfast, right by the hotel. I can't. It doesn't matter what the name of the restaurant is. I can't remember it. But
Hotel 6,
no, the restaurant.
Oh.
It was
the KKK restaurant.
two suns or something, and the logo was two egg yolks or two eggs, or sunny side up, whatever. I can't remember the name, but anyway, we were there one time picking up our breakfast, and the one of the locals was like, "It's not the bears you got to worry about. You got to worry about the moose. They're territorial. And
Oh,
they're,
yeah.
They're
For
territorial
sure,
and they're
dude.
horny." is what they
Yeah.
told us.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. There's a lot of stories of moose attacking
Mm-hmm.
humans, man.
Dude, there were times where this is a story I haven't told on the podcast, but there was an intermediate signal where the signals are at for the train,
Uh-huh.
and Amtrak runs through the tracks there, and you can't slow down Amtrak. If you slow down Amtrak, you're screwed. You're in trouble. So we couldn't use the high rail truck to drive up to the location, drop us off, and come back. So we got to hike all the way up to
Oh,
the intermediate, which was about 3/4 of a mile away from where we were working at,
through the forest, right?
through the forest. But 3/4 of a mile, you can get through it pretty quick, unless you've got 3 or 4 feet of snow.
Wow.
And the locals just told you, no, there's bears are hungry. They'll be out there.
And there's moose.
There's moose, there's wolves, there's lynx, but they told us that the lynx were like house cats. That they're more
Right.
curious than anything. They'll approach you, but from a distance and just keep an eye on you. But we'd be walking the tracks, bro, with the snowshoes, and they actually do help out. But that 3/4 of a mile was taking us maybe 2.5, 3 hours to walk through. It was a long time. It kills your ankles too, bro. But we'd see dead moose on the tracks or dead bald eagles on the tracks where the trains would hit them. But always had that thought in our minds, bro, with these friendly creatures that might fuck us up at some point.
Yep. Yeah. In New Orleans or Louisiana, I had encounters with some crocs, alligators, right? They're alligators on the side of the road, man. They're babies. They're like I don't
Yeah.
know, a few feet long, but those bastards will kill you. And it's one of my favorite animals, but no, thank you.
Yeah, we were working in Beaumont, Texas too, and sometimes we'd fly out of Houston, sometimes out of Austin, because it was the same distance to either airport, and sometimes in Louisiana. What's that? Is it Port Arthur or Lake Arthur? Or I can't remember the name of the town that we'd fly out of, not far from Beaumont. But whenever we dropped to the Louisiana side, you would see the canals that are fenced up, and you'd see them
dude.
floating in there.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
You can
man.
pull over and, man, talk about aliens, worrying about aliens. I'm worried about those damn things.
Living dinosaurs, bro.
Yeah. Rattlesnakes. I have rattlesnakes out in the ranch.
Reptilianos.
Yeah, rattlesnakes. They'll
No,
kill you.
I don't fuck with snakes, bro. That's one of my. You were talking earlier before we recorded. You're not afraid of anything. I'm afraid of snakes, bro.
I've had to become friendly with snakes because I used to be. They used to gross me out, and now I see them and I try to understand them, But diamondback rattlesnakes are not aggressive. They're actually kind of shy. Because I used to mountain bike and not me personally, but we used to see them all the time. But I've seen guys run over them. They're pretty lacy, and the baby ones will strike at the wheels and they get caught on the spokes, and that's how they get killed.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but I've seen a lot of rattlesnakes out there, and you just leave them alone. Let them cross the trail. They'll look at you and then just keep going.
So going back to Montana, while we were working there, not when we were working, but one of the paths that we take on the freeway that runs through the forest, there was a canal or a creek that ran alongside a little portion of the freeway. And the day before we flew out, or the day after we flew out, I think it was the day after we flew out, they were talking about some highway cyclists that were going through that area.
Crazy.
It was two of them, and one of them, the first one that passed through that creek or right by it, startled the bear, and the bear attacked the second cyclist.
It's always the second one. Same thing with rattlesnakes. You don't want to be the second rider.
Shit, I'll be at the front all the time.
You want to be the front or the back.
And then there was also, so one of the big things in that area was huckleberries. I think they were seasonal, bro, and they would talk about how you'd get a gallon of milk and you go foraging for huckleberries. You fill up a gallon of milk with huckleberries, you get like $60 or $80. It was something like that
Oh wow.
for harvesting or foraging the huckleberries,
I'm
right?
in the wrong business, buddy.
Right. But they were talking. One of the survivors was the lady that was out foraging for huckleberries, and she got attacked by a fucking bear. She got mauled but survived,
Wow.
and that was either our off hitch or while we were working. I can't remember what the story
And
was.
you can't shoot a bear, dude. You need a like an elephant gun, like a.
And then with us in the railroad, bro, they used to let us have bear spray, which I imagine only pisses off the bear even more.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
it'll
But they weren't even letting us use that anymore. So you're pretty much SOL at that point.
not cool, man. Not cool. Not interested.
No.
That job description must be bullshit when you apply for it. They don't tell you what it is. But yeah, that's life on the road, man. Whether you're a musician playing music or working for the railroad, it's still you're out there on your own, man. There's no family. You break down. There's no family to call. You're pretty screwed.
Mm-hmm.
I got lost in the airport the other day.
Which airport?
MIA, Miami. Fucking sucked, dude. But I bumped into this girl, and I thought she was German. And I'm like, because she had an accent, but really very, very faint accent. But I thought she was German. And I'm like lost, bro. And I'm like, dude, I got like 5 minutes to get to my terminal, or I'm gonna miss my flight. And she was lost too. But we traded Instagram and we became buddies. And she turns out she's actually from Argentina. So that was kind of cool, I bumped into somebody that was lost, and she actually got me through my terminal before.
Well, there are Germans in Argentina, bro.
You know what, bro? Yeah.
Actually,
Hitler was down there, right? And she looks German, blonde, blue eyes, but whatever. Like,
Show her a clip of this.
yeah, I'll probably send her a link. She's super, super cool.
Nice.
And yeah, but you're on your own, man. And traveling by myself, you think it's easier, but sometimes it's like, dude, if I get lost, I'm lost.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we get lost, I can blame somebody else, the manager or whoever. But if I'm lost, man, I'm gone. It's my ass.
And nothing worse than missing your flight, bro.
Or losing your luggage.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, because they'll fly it somewhere else. It gets, and then catching a second plane, and then they give you enough time. Like the Dallas airport sucked, bro. It's the worst.
DFW.
Yeah, it's horrible, dude. I hate it. And
I've had layovers there so many times, bro.
it's horrible, dude. It sucks. And I've done like a 12-hour layover in Vegas. And man, we'll leave those stories for another day. But I met Tyson there and tried to pick a fight with him. He was so sweet, dude. He's the sweetest guy, dude. He's a lovely character. He was when he got released from prison. I was the fighter, so I wanted to be punched by Mike Tyson, bro, so I could have a story. And he just kept smiling, man, and he just like pointed at me, but I'm like, champ, come on, please, let's go. In the middle of the airport, bro. I was like 20 years old.
Yeah, I think I was working when I was going to art school in Phoenix right after high school. I worked at Foot Locker, and he walked in there once with a big posse protecting him. And at that time, he had looked like pineapple hair because he just had a patch of hair at the top going up. Remember that boxer Tua? Kind of like him is how Tyson had his hair at the time. And I think he was living in Scottsdale, Arizona at that time.
Oh yeah. Those were dark times for him, dude.
That's when his daughter died, no?
And he was low on funds.
Mm.
Yeah. Apparently they didn't have anything to eat, and it was crazy.
Yeah, he had walked into our Foot Locker and nobody approached him because, no.
What when I saw him, he was by himself, and there was a reporter doing an interview, and here I am, dude. What an idiot, interrupting the damn interview. And he was so sweet, bro. He could have whooped my ass or said something that would hurt my feelings. I don't know, whatever. But no, dude, he was so sweet. I'm sure he gets a bunch of idiots trying to pick a fight with him all the time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But he's a sweet guy, man. I just met him that one time. I would love to sit down and have coffee with the dude.
Talk about kissing the frog. Hablando de kissing. Ay, cabrón.
I get a kiss and a beer. Dude, I don't even drink. Let me drink this real fast, may I? It's ultra. And then I don't drink and drive, so I'm going to call an Uber. It's going to cost me like $900 to get me home. and drag my bike along with it.
Put it on the bike rack.
Right? I saw a guy in a Harley with a bike rack.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was weird. And I always wondered how. Maybe it's custom made.
We get the same looks whenever me and Adrian ride the same bike together. But
Oh, wow. You guys still do that?
I face him.
That's the only way to do it, man.
there was a guy, I don't know if you saw it on FitFam, and I know the guy. I won't say any names.
That's the worst. It's when you know the guy's like, I went to high school with that dude.
I know him from a group of friends from years back, but he's on a motorcycle, and he's got the chick riding with him facing him, but she's pretty much laying down on the handlebars, so they're doing something crazy while he's riding, I guess.
Weird, huh?
Only in El Paso, bro. Only on FitFam.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's the one with the guy dragging the fridge. Have you seen that one?
No, I didn't see
That's
that
an
one.
old school one. Like, and it's probably going through Alameda or something, and it's like an LTD. The trunk is open, and they got the fridge on a dolly, bro,
Oh shit.
and it's attached to the trunk of the car, and they're rolling it through. I mean, it worked, but only in the 915, bro.
Hell yeah, bro. And then, so for the listeners, where can they find your music, brother?
Only if they go to my show or they hit me up, and it's an album that I recorded in odd places like hotel rooms. I think
The
we
one you were
talked
talking about earlier.
and it's basically free. It's a donation. Whatever you want to send me, like send me some Apple Pay or whatever, and I'll send you an email with I think it's 13 or 14 songs, and it's all solo bass. Well, there's 3 where I have drums, but it's all solo, like crazy music, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. I don't use Spotify. I don't use, not anymore. I used to. I was talking to Billy about that. He was complaining about how they don't don't quote me on this, but they don't have rights to their music, some of their music, right? But he was complaining about how they're not getting what they should be getting through Spotify and Apple. And I'm like, bro, you complaining? I made literally that's what I said, because that's how much I made in a year. I made $9, $9 freaking, bro. It wasn't even enough to pull the money out, because you need to have like $10 to pull it out.
Yep.
And I'm like, why am I doing this? You post your music. I used to direct 2 record labels, and we never used those platforms. It was, and this is 2014, and we were still selling CDs. We were making more money like that. We still had the music on Spotify, but we weren't promoting it, because when the albums came out, we did like regular promotion, like radio. Podcasts weren't like a big thing yet, but we did radio, TV, that kind of stuff, like the traditional, what like Sony would do, right? And to me, that's the only way it works. If you post anything on Spotify, it's just for the convenience that your users can get to it real quick. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But if your users don't even know you have it, you still have to promote it. And then you promote it, and then they download it, and you don't get paid what you deserve. So what's the point?
Well, not just that, but with Spotify, what sucks, bro, is like I've had friends tell me, "Hey, check out this song or check out this artist. I like this artist," and they send me the song, and you see what the song, artist name, whatever, you see all the information, and it'll play another song before you get to that song
Yep.
too.
Uh-huh.
Unless you're paying for the service, it fucking sucks, bro.
Right. And the thing is, it's cool to pay for the service if the artist is going to get it. Here, the problem with Spotify is who's
Who's
doing
banking?
who's auditing what goes to what artist. They're just bullshitting with you. They're not. I mean, they've talked about going to. I think Steven Tyler went to Congress, and they're criticizing him. He's like, well, you're rich. What are you worried about? He's like, I'm worried about the guys that are not rich and really need the money. That's why I'm doing this. But it's never gonna work, man. Because there's no way to audit. I mean, I saw it when I know for a fact a huge number of people are listening to it, and it's only showing like 500 plays. I'm like, dude, I know I'm getting emails. I'm getting at least 10,000 plays, and I'm so where's that money? And then you have to file a complaint or whatever. It's just not worth it. I'd rather give it away for
It's a
free.
hassle.
I'd rather give it away for free. Give me whatever you want. And some people are very kind and they donate $100. So there, in one sale, I made more than I did in a full year. $9, dude. And I could never even get out
Mm-hmm.
because the company, the third party that uploads that disappeared. I don't remember what they're called. It's not DistroKid. It's another company.
Yeah, so like for this drawing I did right there, I put it on a t-shirt service online too, and I can't remember how many shirts I sold with that design on it, and you only get a fraction of the sale, and ultimately it was gonna be it was just over $6 too, so I never cashed it in either, and I think it was
horrible.
about it was about 44 shirts I think that I had sold.
Dude, you could easily sell those at the flea market
Mm-hmm.
and make all the profit for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's whether you want to be famous or you want to make money, right? When I released the book, Scales, Modes, and Chord Construction, shameless plug, uh, the guy asked me, he says, you want to be famous or you want to make money? I said, dude, I don't care about being famous. He says, all right, well, we'll release it on the site. We'll make 2,500 copies and we'll sell all of them. Or I could put you on Barnes and Noble and you're going to make 10% of what we can make. I'm like, dude, give me the money. I don't care about the fame. And that's what we did. We sold out. So I made about 25 grand. Otherwise, I would have made 5 grand. The book would have been on every Barnes and Noble, but who cares? It would have been on the shelves for 3 months, and then they pull it out and throw it away.
And speaking on that book, like how did that come about? That was how many years ago?
That was published in 2012. It's a crazy story. I thought I was gonna die, and I had a son. Well, I still have a son, hopefully. But anyway, I wanted to pass down all the information that I had gathered, so I wrote it down for him, and it turned into a book and got released. But it took like 5 years. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. Write a book. I'll never do it again. And it took about 5 years of research to come up with those ideas of the actual harmony,
Mm-hmm.
because it's harmony for a punk rocker, from a punk rocker's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
where it's discussing like really advanced concepts. But as a punk rocker, I don't give a fuck, bro. I just want to like
Figure it out.
really quick. I don't even want to wait. I just want to find. So tinkering with some very basic mathematics, because I'm no mathematician, but I figured out that there's a mathematical principle that connects to all the notes in Western harmony, and if you can count to 20, you can be as good as Mozart. Mozart. So there's no creativity. Creativity doesn't exist. If you know this formula, you know what chords work with each other and how songs are created. It's very simple, and I wrote it down, so it's in the book. So it's harmony from a mathematical perspective, and it tells you the relationship between chords, what they do, what kind of emotion they like. If you're writing a song and you're in the key of F, it gives you like if you want to do, let's say you want to do like forward motion, like you want to make it pushy, you go to the fifth chord, which if it's an F, it's C dominant, and there's only C dominant works for that F. And the problem is, being in the studio, I'd see bands where they didn't have the song completed, and they're like, "Oh, we need to come up with a bridge." And I'm sitting there as a sideman, as a hired gun, and I'm like, "Dude, the chord is D, and you guys spend like 9 fucking hours."
Trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and here I am. I'm not an intellectual. I'm a punk rocker, bro. That does not want to waste time. I want to get to it real quick. So somehow I figured out, tinkering with these numbers. I'm like, man, this makes total sense. It's like 440. What happens to a 440 if you cut it in half? It's 220. What frequency that gives you? If you cut that in half, what frequency gives you? If you cut that in half, and then you're like, fuck the frequencies. These represent a certain A, an F, a B, and all of a sudden you have this harmony laid out for you. And the brain, because the way the waves work or the frequencies work, they stimulate the brain in a certain way. That's why like you see Beethoven's music, it's in a certain key. There's a reason for that, because it tricks the mind into behaving a certain way. Did they know that? I don't know. Probably they did. I have no idea, but I figured it out through basic mathematics.
That's crazy because so I wish when I started taking guitar class that I paid more attention because I wanted to go through tablature instead because it was the easier route or whatever. And with the way that I write music, it's all by accident. I jam out and I try to find my place, and I'm not mathematical. I'm not technical. Do I know some of the stuff? Yeah, I do. Do I know my way around the neck, or do I know kind of where to go by instinct? Yes, but I wish it was more through having the knowledge of doing it, not doing it by
Super
accident.
simple, right?
So like my son, he was a natural, but he's classically trained also, so he can read the notes for drums and everything, which is a big step ahead of where I'm at.
What we used to do, right, as
'Cause,
kids.
again, there's for sure talent behind what I do, but I wish I was more technical. So at work, there was a guy in the track department. I was working in Fort Sumner, New Mexico, and I was staying in a little trailer. And long story short, his name's David. I can't remember his last name, but David, he looked unassuming, and I'm sure I look unassuming too as far as a musician goes. But they're like, "Hey, Rene, David plays music too." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool, man." And bring out your guitar. So I bring out my guitar, and I played one of the pieces of music that I wrote that was to me was kind of complex or whatever, right? Something that I came up with a long time ago by accident, whatever. And I made it a point to have my fingers twisted to find notes in weird places, whatever. And this guy was able to instantly call out every note I was playing. Oh, this is a derivative of this or that.
Right, right.
Like he was very technical, bro. And then he shows me on his phone the stuff that he's recorded. It's just him on the keyboard doodling with the keyboard, but he's amazing, bro. And I'm like, damn, that's cool. Because looking at him,
You wouldn't expect them to be this knowledgeable.
because we're always in safety gear, fluorescent
Right.
orange and our work pants and our hard hats, whatever. To the point where I actually, I actually saw him in Kansas City one time because we go to Kansas City a lot for training outside of work, right? And I saw him in regular clothing. He's happy to see me, and I don't know who the hell he is. Bro.
Oh wow!
Because I'm used to seeing him in work clothes too.
Right.
But David, I'll get his last name later, and I got to try to reach out to him because that guy's a musical genius too, bro. Like,
Yeah, and the thing is, I try to demystify the whole genius thing, right? And I know we use the word to describe certain things, but I don't think Mozart was a genius or Beethoven. They knew something most of us don't know. That's it. And here's the funny thing: it came from, again, listening to punk rock and listening to John Coltrane. John Coltrane was high as fuck 90% of the time. And how did he navigate through those changes improvising? I'm like, there's no, dude, bro. If I get drunk, I can't operate a calculator. How the fuck is this dude blowing through these complex changes while he's high on heroin? I'm like, there's something going on. So then I saw Charlie Parker, the same thing. And then I see all these drug addicts that are able to perform these crazy tasks under the influence. And people would say, no, it's because it's the drugs that make him play like that. Nope, that's not true. There's a very strange case. A famous guitar player by the name of Pat Martino. I recommend you guys check him out.
I've heard the name.
He died a few years ago. The biggest shredder as far as guitar when it comes to jazz. The dude was a child prodigy, and then he had a stroke and lost all memory. Didn't He claims that to this day he doesn't remember anything from his past. It's just that they told him his name's Pat, but he doesn't remember. So this dude was crazy shredding, and whatever, he might have learned that somehow. But then his brain dies, and then he relearns to shred again. So what was the formula that made him relearn all these things? How the fuck did he come up with these concepts a second time? And most of us through our lifetime, we can't achieve that, and he was able to do it twice. So looking at him,
Muscle memory, maybe, or
that's what I thought at first. But then I'm looking at different cases like Coltrane or Parker and him and different other cases, and I can't find what's similar about these guys other than they can play until I figure out this thing. So in jazz, they say, well, we navigate the chord changes because when you see a jazz chart, you see like C and D. But when you hear what they're playing, bro, they're not playing a simple C. They're playing this crazy like inversion of the chord or substitution, and it's all improvised on the spot, right? So what do you play over that? And how do you navigate it when you're high? What I found out is that you're not navigating to the changes. There's a formula that you stick to, and you can be like stick to that formula, and you don't navigate through the changes. The changes navigate through you, and that's how these guys been doing it. And that's a very crazy principle where I can sit there, like I showed it. I did a clinic in Argentina, and I'm like, check this out. I'm going to play a part. I looped it, and I'm going to improvise on it, and I'm going to sound like a genius while I speak to you. I'm going to prove to you that my fingers are doing this pattern, and it sounds like I'm playing like a genius, but I'm not. I'm a fucking moron that was able to figure this out. And everybody's like, how can you speak solo over it with these complex chords? It's because that's the formula. That's what these guys knew that we didn't know. Creativity doesn't exist. Being a genius does not exist, not in music anyway. It's all this knowledge that has been
finding your place,
and also
on your instrument.
Right, and it's this knowledge that's been kept away from us, and that's what I teach my students. I don't teach them technique. I teach them musicality, so that if they choose to play the trumpet, they can apply that. The piano, they can apply it. The bass, any instrument, the drums, even in percussion, because harmony is very connected to rhythm. Rhythm's very important in harmony. That's actually the key. The way the rhythms work. And I have clinics where I explain this in depth, and people bring their guitars, and I could prove to them they can do it if they knew this little secret, this little hack.
So I was wondering because so within a year ago or less, or maybe a little bit more, I can't remember, I had seen on YouTube an interview with Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing live with Bruce Springsteen for a handful of shows or something. And they talk about how Bruce Springsteen can go through a diverse set of songs, a bunch of songs. On any given night, he'll play different songs that he hasn't played in a while, but they go through all these songs.
Right.
So he's got Tom Morello as a guest guitarist on several shows, and he's got to learn all these songs. And I remember thinking, those are the situations where I'm like, I'm not that good of a guitarist if I can't do stuff like that, man, or whatever. But I'm wondering if whatever you're saying, your theory, falls into play with what was going on here.
Some of it does, because Tom is actually he's a well-trained guitar player.
Yeah.
I believe he went to MIT or Musicians Institute.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's not. He plays very simple things in his band, but he's more accomplished.
Yeah, he's very technical.
Yeah, he's very technical.
You know who can't talk. who I was surprised about that too was whenever one of the bands I've seen the most live, besides the Chili Peppers, Korn. I had seen them a bunch of times, and whenever they lost their guitarist head for a while, that he took a hiatus from the band. Monkey was shredding a lot, bro, in that band, to the point where it gave the band a different vibe. I thought
Really? Huh.
because he was able to solo like a bunch of the old metal bands that would solo like a little bit more. Um, I had seen him here in El Paso, I believe, that time, or maybe somewhere I can't remember. I've seen him so many times, but I remember it was a different vibe.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I don't know how technical those guys are. And I'm not talking about technical as far as technique, but understanding how music works.
Right, right, right.
Cause rock music is pretty primitive. The problem, I've come to like rock music less as I get older because I've noticed how primitive it is. And what I mean by primitive is it has nothing to do with technique. The problem with rock music, if you analyze it from harmonic point of view, it's very static. It's always the same thing. It doesn't lead anywhere. Like when you take a composition, even the new composers like John Williams, or they take you through a voyage.
Mm-hmm.
The harmony comes in and out and it waves, and rock music doesn't do that. Rock music is very rhythm oriented, and it's very static, and it can get boring, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I still love it. I still play it. Like I said, the Misfits are my favorite band, but they're still very primitive. And when you dive into music that deep, you start like pushing away what's not worth it. And you're like, okay, I can't listen to that again because your time is limited. So you have to listen to high quality content, and that becomes a problem because we just don't have enough time. And then you end up becoming the type of guy that only listens to classical or only listens to this, and it's not a good place for a musician because you have to be diverse. You have to have a very well balanced musical diet, including the junk, like rock or whatever. But it doesn't lead anywhere. Like the harmony in rock does not lead anywhere. It's very static.
I kind of hope with you saying that, like, I kind of hope that I'm doing something right because whenever I would play guitar and I would record simply using my phone or whatever and show people my music. One of the some of the feedback I get a lot was that, hey, you might want to just go dry throat. You might want to just go instrumental. Holy crap! You might want to go instrumental because we could sense a story without words being in your music. Like you're
Oh,
building up
that's
to a
that's good.
climax
Yeah.
or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And that's some of the feedback that I would get a lot. So I think musically, I think I'm doing something right. Again, I'm not tooting my own horn because I don't got that big of a fucking horn to toot. But I think I'm doing something right with what I write. And I'm not being cocky having said that, but
No, no, absolutely not. It has to do with experience. I
mm-hmm.
mean, it's not like you started playing 5 years ago. You've been playing for 30, and listening to a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of experience there, and it'll lead to a certain style of writing. The problem is when you become a professional writer in the studio or you're arranging for people, you have to mold yourself to a lot of different styles or a lot of different things, and you have to do it on the spot. You got
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes to come up with it. So knowing this information has been really helpful in demystifying creativity. Creativity does not exist. There's only one creator.
Mm-hmm.
Matter cannot be created or destroyed.
Well, one of the things I've heard a lot before is we're just recreating stuff that was already created before. Also,
Yeah, to a point, But there's still, I think, if you fully understand harmony or Western harmony, because like Hindu music is completely different. That's Don't even ask me about
yeah.
that because I have no idea. Any Middle Eastern music, same thing. But when it comes to Western harmony, if you understand it, I think there might be places where we can take it. I think there's still hope. I don't think that everything's been written. and then we're
Oh no, for sure.
maybe in rock, yeah, because we've been going recycling these
Hmm.
rhythms and stuff like that. But if you listen to the Police or Sting, anything that
Oh
Sting,
shit, I love the Police.
yeah, anything that Sting wrote, and he talks about it just recently. I heard him say that, and I think it's with Rick Beato. Uh, if you get a chance to check it out, he talks about how they're not composing correctly. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he says it's not leading anywhere. You have, and in rock music, a bridge is the way to take you somewhere else.
Hmm.
And he talks about that. And if you listen to anything he's written, like whether it's a Police or himself, there's always a bridge there. You know, every song that you think about it, there's something that leads you to a different place.
Hmm.
And that's what classical music does, but it does it constantly. In rock, you're more limited, but at least you have to try something.
That's one of the things where. So earlier we were talking before we recorded. We are talking about Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains. And to me, as much as I love Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains, to me, the underdogs in this picture, Stone Temple Pilots, bro, because of the DeLeo brothers on bass and guitar.
Good composer.
Yeah, the DeLeo brothers are amazing, bro. The way they work their music, bro.
Yeah,
It's,
and he's a good bass player.
hmm.
He's a really good bass player. But yeah, I think we need to understand harmony to a deeper level. I teach it. It's pissed off a lot of classically trained because I've never studied music. It just fell on my lap through mathematics. I took some bass playing like lessons, like how to move my
Hmm.
fingers, how to slap and that stuff. But I've never taken like real music lessons. And I've actually taught at the college level for one semester because I hated it. But it's because this I figured this whole thing out, and I'm willing to share with whoever wants to study, but not a lot of people are interested. There's
Like I find myself for sure. Like one of my proudest moments is I don't know if I shared my song 1985 with you, but on that one I'm really proud of the bridge that I came up with because it just came out of thin air, but it just came out of nowhere.
it just happened.
It just happened, and it's a crazy. My song sounds nothing like Queens of the Stone Age at all, but that's where my mind went with that bridge. And again, it sounds nothing like that. I wasn't trying to emulate them or nothing, but that's whenever I first started playing it, just raw, my son and I jamming out here in this room, like it gave me that vibe with just the barely overdriven guitar. By the time I got to the studio, it sounds completely different, but it's the same thing I'm playing anyway. But that's one of the hey, come on, we. That's one of the things where with that song, a lot of people told me they're like, dude, I love where you went with the bridge. That's something
Right.
unique. And I wanna show you that to see not not
Uh,
to not
Send it
to
to me.
not to butter me up if you don't think so. But
If
that's
it
one of the
sucks,
things
I'll
where
tell you.
yeah, tell me if it sucks,
That's
bro. But it's one of those things where I'm like I think creatively that went in a direction I didn't expect to, and it was like a natural progression.
now. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to get that on command? Because
Yes, bro.
it inspiration is weird, right? It comes and sometimes it doesn't come for months. Wouldn't it be nice to just snap your fingers and that came to you? That's what I teach. That inspiration is actually it's just a moment of clarity that you had. But imagine having clarity 100% of the time,
Hmm.
where you sit down and you're like Mozart. Okay, I want to do this, and you just write it out, and then you play it. And sometimes you can't even play it because you're just not technically able to play it, but you can write it, and that's more important.
Hmm.
Because Beethoven couldn't play all the instruments, but he could write them all. Same thing with music. You know, you need to be able to express yourself without any limitations
Hmm.
other than technical. I write things that I can't play, but then I learn to play them. You know, I slow it down and I learn to play. But initially, when it's written, I can't play it.
And I think with me with the music that I write, bro, I do follow patterns. I find something that sounds good to me, and I mess around with it with my style, my sense of talent, whatever. But I do follow patterns, so I can see where it might get boring from verse, chorus, verse, bridge, whatever the fuck. But I know the talent's there for sure. I just wish I was a little bit better. So that's where I could benefit from your techniques, I'm sure.
I'll send you my book. Yeah, it's really easy, man. If you can count to 20, you can master music.
I can count to 19, bro. I'm fucked.
We'll have to teach you the 20.
Anyway, Mario, qué rollo, güey.
Oh, Mario needed to say something.
Les quiero hacer una pregunta.
A
Lo
ver.
quería hacer ahorita. ¿Lo paraste, güey?
No.
No, te está grabando.
Lo hablábamos antes en la comida y les quería hacer esta pregunta. Porque Stone Temple Pilots siempre suena en vivo. Tiene un sonido en vivo.
Puede ser porque grabaron en vivo.
No, sus discos que son normales tienen un sonido
No,
en
pero
vivo.
es que en vivo pudieron haber grabado.
No.
Es que lo que pasa, como el modo que yo he grabado en el estudio, grabo una parte de la guitarra que me salga perfecto.
Yo estoy hablando que tú oyes un disco de
Sí,
Stone
sí,
Temple
sí.
Pilots
Pero es
en el radio, en el carro,
Y parece que están en vivo.
y parece que
Bueno,
están en vivo.
Es lo que te
ahí,
digo.
¿Por qué tienen ese sonido?
ahí
¿Por
te
qué
vas-
tienen ese sonido?
ahí te voy a explicar por qué.
So cuando yo he ido al estudio a grabar la música que tengo yo, when I've gone to the studio to record my music, honestly, lo que pasa es de que sacas el producto más limpio. You bring out the cleanest material si lo grabas en piezas. So voy a grabar la parte de la guitarra primera. Un pedazo de la música del riff. Ta-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra.
Paras.
Y paras, haces record la second parte, ta-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra. Paras y luego copy, paste,
Lo
copy,
juntas.
paste.
Pero cuando haces eso, suena como disco.
So-
Y lo que hacen ellos es de que se meten todos en un cuarto al mismo tiempo,
Graban la canción junta.
junta pareja, de principio. Entonces,
Y
hay-
cada canal está grabado
Separado.
y
y lo que pasa es que ellos tocan no siempre perfecto. Se suben, se bajan poquito y eso se siente como que está en vivo. Pero la gente no lo quiere hacer porque es peligroso. Porque terminas haciendo un chingo de tomas y no te sale la canción.
Pero es lo que gusta. de
es lo que gusta
Stone
porque Stone
Temple
Temple Pilots son igual que los Chili Peppers, el Frusciante y Flea, Robert y Dean DeLeo, tienen esa chemistry, bro. It just
tocar en
works.
vivo.
Sí,
Ajá,
sí,
al
sí.
mismo tiempo.
Si ellos grababan la manera que he grabado yo, no van
Se
a
oye
sonar
feo.
como, se va a oír feo.
Sí, yo feo.
Se va a escuchar muy procesado.
La batería de Stone Temple Pilots nadie la tiene, güey.
Sí, tiene su sonido, pero es que es muy probable que grabaron todos al mismo tiempo y eso tiene connotaciones técnicas que hace que suene diferente, que es más agradable. Para el oído
mí
humano es más
agradable.
agradable. Sí,
Pero es que esos güeyes tienen que estar para grabar así, pues muchos artistas lo hacen de todas maneras, pero para grabar de esa manera, como dice Charlie, it's dangerous. Porque a lo mejor no se va a hacer translate bien al whatever, pero Metallica lo hace también, me imagino. Whenever I've seen the...
no, pues se supone que no lo pudieron hacer en el Black Album.
¿No?
Por eso critican a Lars.
Oh, yeah, pues Lars.
I don't think he's that bad. But everybody
Pero
says he's
tampoco es el mejor.
No, y no tienes que ser el mejor, solamente tienes que ser el baterista de Metallica. Con eso.
Es lo que yo siempre he pensado. O sea, no tienes que ser el mejor
No,
guitarrista ni
no.
tienes que ser el mejor vocalista.
No.
Tienes que ser parte del grupo que está cantando, nada más. La pieza que el grupo necesita.
Exacto. Sí, sí, porque para qué quieres ser el mejor guitarrista y nomás están usando el 5% de tus habilidades. Pero, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up, bro. Again, Charlie Garcia. I'm glad I have met you. I'm glad Mario introduced me to you and brought you over, brother. I'm very impressed by your talents, your multi-talents, with your bass building. That's a beautiful bass, the Castle. I wish you the best of luck with your touring. You're going to have this second round of touring in Argentina.
Yep.
I can't wait to see your stories on your social media about that if you share it. What else can you tell us? What are you looking forward to that's upcoming?
Looking to playing in Mexico, a few shows. We're doing some charity stuff, and then touring in my home country, man.
Oh yeah, bro. And again, we need string sponsorships, man.
Yeah, SIT.
SIT. We're looking at you, brother.
Second part of this podcast.
See, and yeah. Once you come back from this tour, come back and we'll do another episode, bro.
Absolutely.
Tell us how it went and whatever we didn't cover today, we'll go through that time around too. You're Open door, bro. Whenever you want to come by, we're here.
Appreciate it. Anything I can do to bring some joy to the world, man.
I want you to play bass on some of my songs, bro.
We'll do. Absolutely.
Let's play, Charlie.
Call-
Let's play right now, in
Call,
live.
call it
Let's play.
a done deal, buddy.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Let's
That's
play,
badass.
Charlie. Let's play.
I'm slurring because of this
No,
ultra.
let's play.
I'll play a song.
Come on.
Ya, pero lo grabamos y lo ponemos después, güey.
Okay.
So again, this is Rene Rodriguez with the Long Story Longer podcast. I'm happy
Yes,
to have had
sir.
my guest Charlie here and with Beck,
Right.
with Beck and Exotica guitars.
Uh-huh.
Again, it was fun. I wish you nothing but the best, brother. Long Story Longer podcast. Peace out.
Yes, sir.